Let's get going. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call a regular meeting of council to order Monday, December 6, 2021. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Majinski.
That the Monday, December 6, 2021 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of the minutes, 3.1, November 15th, 2021, regular meeting of council minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That the Monday, November 15th, 2021 regular meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Majinski. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes? Staff? Thank you. Delegations and petitions, 6.1. Helen Scott to present regarding safety and mental health concerns of children at community center and restrictions during hockey functions. Welcome, Helen. Please. Yep.
Can I just have like 2 seconds to set your
Certainly, yep. Absolutely.
I just want to sort things out, and I'm not going through all of this. I don't have time, but it's what I've been jotting my notes down right till 10 minutes ago.
Sure. No problem.
Okay, ready.
No worries.
So I'd like to thank my council and staff for allowing me in here today. And then just a little bit of...
Just one moment, Helen. Councillor Lehman, can you please mute your phone? Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm going to just give a little bit of background to why I'm here. November 30th, I entered the Tumbler Community Centre to watch my 6- and 7-year-old grandchildren playing at a Tumbler minor hockey practice and give the Lions concession a check for my business for the Remembrance Day wreath. The concession's closed, so at 5:55 I decided to go and sit in the bleachers. A volunteer parent approached and asked me to put on a mask and show my vax passport, which I declined. Another volunteer board member, who's a parent, approached and said they had asked and didn't need to get into it with me. So I went over to both of them and said, hey, I said, I'd like to talk about this because I think the black curtains are just ridiculous. And the one parent said, I'm just a volunteer. And I said, I'm just a grandma wanting to watch my grandkids. And really, I've put in many volunteer hours in this community as well and donated thousands of dollars. And now I'm not allowed to sit in the bleachers because I don't have, or I'm not disclosing to you whether or not I have a vax passport. And the one volunteer told me that, well, I know if minor hockey gets shut down tomorrow, it won't be my fault, and we've done all we can for the kids. So I said, fine. And I returned to my socially distanced spot in the bleachers, and there's 5 people in the rink. Well, 5 adults and a couple of children. So anyway, 2 police officers entered the bleacher area from the bottom doors, spoke behind me with the manager, and then the one officer approached me, took my picture, and I asked for badge numbers, and I'm going, holy shit, because my heart's pounding. And the one young guy gave me his badge number and said I was trespassing since the manager had asked me to leave, and because I'm refusing to wear a mask and show proof of vaccination, I am now trespassing. So the first officer that took the picture and wouldn't give me his badge number told me he could talk to me in the other area, and we needed to leave that area or I would be arrested. And I said, he wanted to defuse everything. And I said, so anyway, I voluntarily and peacefully left the bleacher area with my bag of papers that the first officer reminded me to take. And I thanked the manager nicely on my way by with my police escort as my grandchildren are on the ice playing at the Tumbler Ridge minor hockey practice with black curtains blocking the view of the spectators. Some parents were up in the restaurant, some parents down in the concession area peering through a small opening of the curtains. So in the play park area, of the community center, I asked the officers some questions, and we had a nice little discussion about what law I was breaking. And again, I was told trespass. And because I was told again, the manager called them and had asked me to leave because I would not mask up or show proof of vaccination. And I said, so even a vaxxed person, if they choose to do that, would have like the same thing that happened to them. And I said, I don't have to disclose any medical information. I can rent the ice. And the one officer said, why don't you do that? And I said, well, I will, but I want to watch my grandchildren on the ice. And he said, do you have grandkids on the ice? And I said, yeah, I don't just go around sitting in random ranks and wanting to be put nose down in the bleachers and arrested. Anyway, so then he said, well, I seen you at the town hall meeting earlier this year with all your papers. And I'm going, that was not me. He goes, yeah, it was. So I'm having a dispute about my identity. And the other guy says, that give me his badge number. He said, that was a different lady. And I told him, that's okay. We all look the same. I'd like to note, that I'm not looking for trouble. I'm worried about the kids' mental health. Everybody has seen those curtains. I have, the play park is roped off. The kids can't even go play at the play park. I've seen community center staff, in my opinion, bullying 6 and 7-year-olds, putting masks on, singling out unvaxxed and unmasked kids, the older ones, reporting adults. I was told again to take it to mayor and council. That's what he said, you need to take this to mayor and council. And don't take all that stuff because they won't get it. So I'm not handing anything out to you guys. I'm just verbally telling you my frustrations. Then I was warned, this was my warning, and if I enter those bleachers again, and if the manager calls, I will be arrested. So the next day I heard the black curtains are down. They were coming down anyway, and in place of it is signage that says no spectators allowed. So I hired a process server to serve notice of liabilities on individuals and requested to come before you guys, and thank you again so much for hearing me out. So the process server served a couple of parents at school by sliding an envelope, just an envelope through windows, because I have to either get them registered or give them personally. And again, I don't want confrontation. So then I start getting angry texts from family, friends, heard about moms being harassed at school, gossip saying my intents to get arrested, minor hockey board quit, no head coach, and minor hockey is being canceled, all because of little old me. So the public server called to warn me that an irate husband of one of the ladies served was on his way to my place of work and was pissed. And he reamed her out of her business. I went and locked my doors to the shop to protect my employees, and I was thinking of calling 911. And then by then he's already at the door petting my dog, and he asked if he could talk to me, and we had a civil discussion. But he left all 3 of the NOLs that had been served, I didn't just serve them, with his wife's name on it and said it should be minor hockey. And I told him, that's not how it works. He said, really, Helen, at school? And I said, really? Who called the cops on me? I had a police escort out of the bleachers at my grandkids' practice. Who's harassed? I can't even recite some of the things I see my little guys playing and they go and talking about. Kids shouldn't be talking. And I don't go around telling them my beliefs or anything like that. They're picking things up at school. They're seeing things. And I don't like it. This is our freedom. It's everybody's. I said, I've already talked to people. I've sent emails. His was one that bounced back. I didn't have an updated list. I've sent to CAO, mayor and council. I got a big feedback off my computer about stuff with the district server, so I don't know who got, who didn't. I see parents that can go and dress and undress their kids all in the same dressing room before and after practice, but the unvaxxed can't take a water bottle to their child. They can't fix a jersey or a knee pad once the practice is on. I guess the virus is a smart one. We need that vax passport. When I witnessed my grandchild going off the ice and find out she's sitting unsupervised in the public corridor, her mom was notified by another person in the no spectator area, and she took a picture of her child sitting in the corridor, her knee pad being adjusted. And someone was entering the building from the outside parking lot. But rules are rules, and everyone's had plenty of time to go get their jab. I said, all of the kids have seen the black curtains. Everyone sees who goes and sits in and out of the stands and who cannot. So all of the people that are being compliant, all of the good people are up in the stands and those other people are sitting in parking lots. And some vaxxed are even reporting others. Is anyone getting the picture? They can't be in, the coaches, some of the coaches have been removed from coaching. They've been removed from volunteer positions. They can't be in pictures. Little guys are coming up and saying, why aren't you coaching anymore? Okay, there were vaxxed and unvaxxed that didn't think the black curtains were cool. There's a picture of our district's fire chief sitting in front of the taped off play park. I watched the subject discussed at council meetings. I've expressed concerns verbally, emailed everybody, and it is physical, there's physical liabilities that could be at risk here. There's mental health. Like, there's people here that know that. And when moms sit in parking lots and cry because they can't participate in child's activities, watch games on iPhones because some people are kind enough to try to work through this. Yet again though, what happens when a child needs stitches? Or go head first into the board. Oh, now we've got something in place here. They have everybody's phone number. So the unvaxxed parents that are sitting in the parking lot, they'll call them and they can come in or take the kid to them. The unvaxxed parents now, because of me, have to drop their dressed 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds off at the door. They can't go in anymore. My family's pissed at me. You took it too far this time, Mom. I said, I'm just getting started. When mandates say children need to be vaxxed to play a game, cannot participate at the community center gym. One of the school activities was going and using the gym. I've got 2 grandsons that can't do that. When pop-up vax clinics are at arenas and car washes in Fort St. John as part of the circuit breaker, there's something wrong with that. When some are getting scanners to check people at the door for minor hockey in Tumbler Ridge, come on. But old timers can go, just go, or use a fake passport. I don't see cops sitting up at check stop when people drive home. Just saying too, I've got receipts showing I paid way over $35,000 donated to the Tumbler Ridge Old Timers for big boys to play. I want to know if you as mayor and council can check into 2 rates at tax time. One for the vax people who have unlimited access to the town and can participate in society. They can go to restaurants. They can use the community center without all these vaxxed and unvaxxed zones. And one for the unvaxxed who are discriminated against and segregated because they choose to wait until the experimental trial period is over in 2023. And some believe in natural immunity that most of us are born with. It's called an immune system, and some have common sense. Individuals are named because they are the ones voluntarily participating in policing, implementing recommendations and orders put out by municipalities, public health orders, and Northern Health. We need to collectively put heads together and do what is right for humanity and for the future generations, for their mental health and their safety and our freedom. We have laws to protect our human rights, and that is what all of this stuff is. I spent this whole weekend looking up crap because I have no idea what I'm going to say to you guys. And I find that most people don't even read the stuff. They watch a video. There's a lot of garbage out there, but there's a lot of good stuff, and people are missing it. The information is there for everyone. You don't need a lawyer for your human rights.
Participant exiting.
Anyway, these are some of the things I was going to show the house. We have Statutes of Canada 2017, Chapter 13, an act to prohibit and prevent genetic discrimination. It's gone through its 3 readings. That's probably false checked if it was shared. Game on Canada. I've sent a letter of complaint into Canada Hockey. I'm done sending letters here that just come back and we put the black curtains up, some parents open them, then everyone gets all upset because the poor volunteers are crying. Nobody gave 2 shits when the other volunteers that are unvaxxed got asked to leave. Nobody cares about the unvaxxed, how many tears they've shed sitting in parking lots. I'm ready to take my passport and get the hell out of Canada and not come back. But everyone in my family doesn't have passports, so I'm stuck here. Game on, let the kids play. This is another place, maybe something different than Canada Hockey. Guidelines for masks. Calgary passed a bylaw. I don't know when that was, but now there's warnings. Employees do not have the legal right to enforce the bylaw. Please do not ask them to be the mask police. Like I said, this is stuff I just grabbed this weekend. I know I have 15 minutes. I'm not going to go over because I do not like public speaking. I'm just pissed. Criminal codes. Canadian rights and freedoms. And number 7, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right to not be deprived thereof except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. And then it goes into list what those freedoms are. So when you guys are getting individually served with notice of liability, you are trampling on somebody's human rights, and we all have them. The new Action for Canada, they really condensed it, and it idiot-proofs it on how to serve people. And then it says, no, you do not need a lawyer to serve a notice of liability and do not need consent or the signature of the person you're serving it to. And the notices are to give you information to find out what's truly going on. And then when I hear the cops telling me, that doesn't mean anything, and this statute that doesn't mean anything, and I got to bring it back to Mayor and Council, an open letter to the RCMP Commissioner, that doesn't mean anything. For my business, I actually told some of my employees, I am an equal opportunity. We have vaxxed and unvaxxed. I don't discriminate, but I told my kids, if you get the frickin' jab, I'm firing you. And I told them, if you watch some of these videos, I'll pay you $100. After 10, I'll put your name in for a new ATV. And they thought I'm crazy. And I'm going, no, read some of this stuff. Because everyone was thinking about getting it. Even in September, I was. Then I did my research and I'm going, I think I'll wait.
Thank you very much, Helen. I absolutely appreciate you coming in tonight. I do understand your frustration, and I appreciate you voicing it to us as well. Council, any questions? Councillor Howe?
So where are we currently?
Announcing participants.
The way I was understanding, the curtains are being sent out for maintenance.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. The curtains are being sent out for maintenance. They were removed for maintenance
Okay.
for our visibility and safety.
Councillor Howe?
Is it true that we have something in the arena that says no spectators allowed, or are we set up for socially distancing up in the arena?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So in the skaters lounge and upstairs, it does say no spectating. We are working with the user groups who are the ones that are enforcing the order for the spectators. So they would only like to do it within the arena. So in order to help and work with Meyer Hockey, yes, we have posted no spectating from the skaters lounge and from upstairs.
Okay. Councillor Howe?
So that's like my sticking point there. I understand that we allow the user groups to police themselves within the arena. Should a individual choose to walk around the community center and go have a look through the glass, they are doing what? What law are they breaking, or bylaw are they breaking, or why can they not look through the glass? My thought on this has always been, since day one, if they could maintain social distancing with a mask on, there's no reason why we cannot allow them to look through the glass. So if that means you can only have 10 people through all the glass that's down there, what's the harm in that? Who are we hurting? I understand if we get 30 people there and they're congregating, and then we are breaking a law to some degree, the way I understand it. I don't understand why we would say no spectators allowed. If the curtains have been removed, to me, as I understand it, there's been trade shows or trade fairs or markets going on in there that are not requiring any of this stuff. So to me, it's got absolutely crazy in this town. It's gone absolutely nuts. I think it's the right thing for the curtains to have been removed. I think staff is on the right step there. But to extend an olive branch both ways to those that are vaxxed and unvaxxed and minor hockey and staff, could we not reach that agreement? It seems very common sense to me. That's the way it is everywhere else in the world. You have to maintain 2 meters of socially distancing and wear a mask to go anywhere. Walmart, get on a plane and fly. stand in a lineup somewhere, but we decided our community center, whoever decided, wasn't this council, let me be clear on that, wasn't me, I never had a vote on that, that we are gonna go and say no spectators are allowed. That's what we want coming out of this council. I for one don't. I think we should change it tonight.
As far as the provincial health order goes, spectators are named in the provincial health order. So, Ms. Thompson, can you clarify a little bit there, please?
Thank you. It's the Northern Health Order that is currently in effect until January 31st of 2022. And the definition is participant means a person present at an event, including spectator. So that is a further restriction that Northern Health has put down, and that if you are a spectator, you need to present vaccination status.
Is there a question for the delegation?
No, this is for our council.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just wanted to, I don't want to keep Ms. Scott here all night, so. Any other questions for Ms. Scott? Councillor Howe?
So nobody wants to go up this ladder at all? We're gonna be happy with what staff says on it, Northern Health says, so that's what we're gonna do. To me, I think we're splitting hairs on this. I understand not allowing people to congregate in the stands and groups of parents to get together that are unvaccinated. I understand that, but to not allow people to stand and watch at the glass, I think that is us taking a step that's beyond what we need to do. And if Northern Health has such an issue with it, allow Northern Health to come in and find those that are congregating together. Why does it have to be our community center staff that have to do that? To me, I think we're splitting hairs here. I think we should go and say, well, this is what I would like to do. Maintain your socially distance, send it off to Northern Health. If they send us a response back and says that, no, you can't stand behind glass and that doesn't work and that's a spectator, then we can come back and post something to say that no, we've checked into this, actually checked into it with Northern Health, and they consider this spectating and it's some risk that's gonna kill everybody that...
Have that opportunity to discuss this during correspondence or the consent agenda as well. We certainly do, absolutely. If you bring up 7.4 for discussion, absolutely.
So we're not gonna discuss it during a petition or delegation?
No, we can't make any decisions during the delegation.
Okay, good to know. We'll mark that down. That's definitely never happened here, so.
Okay,
Can I ask one question?
please.
When you're referring, because we've been, or myself, and that's what I was trying to clear up too with the officers, was when a person has issues with, like, the Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey Board was saying it was district and council that had implemented it. So, and then when you guys are saying, because right here I've got the updated November 19th, where it says as directed by the district of Tumbler Ridge. So to me, that's in writing. So that's why I've brought it back to you guys. Now I hear you saying, no, it's not us. So now I hear you saying it's Northern Health, and that's the discussion I had.
No, we're trying to follow the public health order issued by the provincial government and Northern Health. So when they put out a document that states all participants and spectators for minor hockey or children's sports need to show proof of vaccination, it seems to me every community, every organization is interpreting it or trying to interpret those kind of documents, and it's not easy to do. For us in the district, we are trying to follow the rules because we are an arm of the provincial government. We are mandated by them to follow out the services that we provide here. So we are certainly trying to do what's best in regards to following the provincial health order, but the underlying motivation of that is to try and keep people safe. Public safety is the reason for every single motivation and every action that we've done in regards to COVID is for public safety. So are we interpreting the public health orders correctly every time? Maybe not, but we're doing our best to try and keep the public healthy.
I understand that, but there's stuff coming out now where people vaxxed can still get COVID.
100%.
And people can still transmit. So how do we make stuff go back uphill to our elected officials at the province? Because they've pushed it off on public health. the health officers. They've trickled it all down to where volunteers are interpreting.
Completely agree.
Yeah, so and that's my question. How do we go back up? And that's what your jobs are. We elected you to represent everybody. And so now things are changing. There's evidence out there that
It's harmful.
Certainly we've been elected to represent the community in many ways. For the provincial government, our representation of our community is a lobbying effort. We are not responsible for public health. We're not responsible for transportation. We're not responsible for any of our highways. Do we like our highways? No, but we are going to lobby the provincial government to improve our highways because it's a major issue. You know, I think the expectation of mayor and council to represent the community on a public or a provincial matter is misconstrued to some degree because we don't have a lot of influence in that regard. Little old Tumbler Ridge of 2,200 residents doesn't stand 15 minutes of a minister's time compared to a city, Fort St. John, Vancouver, Prince George in that regard. So our lobbying efforts are great, but our effectiveness on creating change on a big scale is very minimal.
so again, do I need to find individuals at Northern Health? Do I need to go back to the RCMP and get a file number? Like, what's my next move?
I believe on this case, it's really through our MLAs. They are our provincial representatives. The province is responsible for public health. MLAs are elected to represent the residents of their riding. When it's a federal matter, like an immigration matter, we go to our MPs. When it's a provincial matter, we should be going to our MLAs. Unfortunately, up in the north, we don't have government representation. We have opposition representation, so it's not as effective. But that's the avenue that the parliamentary system is brought forward. So I really believe that's where we go in this sense. We have put down the curtains for safety reasons at request of the maintenance staff. As they're doing rounds, they needed to be able to see the entire building with those curtains down or curtains closed. They weren't able to do that. So, you know, it was an interpretation of the order. Did we get it right? Possibly not. We'll correct it. We're in a situation where everything is so reactionary right now, and not the best decisions are made in those situations, not even the best thinking, in my opinion. So I'm very concerned about the kids' mental health. I'm also very concerned about the health of the minor hockey board to be able to continue. It's not fair for the province to be passing off this enforcement to the user groups, and I completely agree with that. I've been part of minor hockey for 12 years, and I know the ins and outs completely. This, in my opinion, you know, we are all trying to make it work for these kids to have a full and enriched life with sport, but during the pandemic, I don't think it was worth it. In my opinion, I think the entire season should have been canceled again. That's my opinion.
Well, there was intent to let minor hockey unfold to enforce or manipulate people, just like people are being let go of jobs and stuff like that. So, like, there's a lot of stuff going on at play.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I am just really concerned because if this continues, the kids are being put at risk and they're being used as tools against their parents. And it's not right.
Councillor Howe?
Just one comment there on the notice of liability. Just so you're aware, we had the notice of liability looked at by our lawyers, and if you would like to hear what our legal opinion was on the notice of liabilities, we could ask.
It was released open, yeah. There was, I don't know the previous agenda, but
basically the advice that we've been given on notice of liabilities is that they aren't worth the paper they're written on. So if there is legal challenges coming down the pipe, you know.
What was the name of the lawyer? Are you able to disclose that?
I'm not sure.
district lawyers. Yeah,
And that's what everyone's hiding behind, are organizations. They're not willing to put their name out there. And that's what the notice of liabilities are about, is individuals that are being used to go against people's rights.
Okay.
There's criminal law, there's all sorts of stuff. I'll come to another agenda or be on the, for something else. I just wanted to address the kids' safety and mental health.
I appreciate
And see
that.
about the parents, because like I said, right now the little guys are getting dropped off at the community center and cannot access the building. So do all of the unvaxxed parents need to pull them out? And they're talking about kids doing disciplinary actions to parents or kids, I'm not sure what it is. So I'm a little bit concerned about where this is going.
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I'm looking at our public health order currently. And so I'd like your opinion on this section. The following requirements apply to respect to an inside event. An organizer, and in this case, the District of Tumbler Ridge or minor hockey, must obtain proof that a participant, so we figured out from our staff participant is somebody who's actively participating as well as a spectator. Proof that a participant has received 2 doses of vaccine by way of proof of vaccination or proof of exemption. So for myself, I read that and I'm trying to understand your perspective on how we can work within that system to. I'm having problems understanding where we can have that anything to come in conflict with this.
Let's just, I thought I had something marked public health order. All of that stuff, if you like. There's Take Action Canada, Stand Up Canadian Solutions about natural and legal rights to refuse medical treatments. And the public health orders were put in place for a pandemic, for an emergency. The vaccines were the cure-all. They were going to save everyone. That's not happening. People now have to go for the third booster. So, the vaccine was emergency use only because of a pandemic. So people are fiddling around with definitions and with laws. So this, May 1997, Immunization Canada. Unlike some countries, immunization is not mandatory in Canada. It cannot be made mandatory because of the Canadian Constitution. So then you get into criminal codes. I'm kind of stepping ahead here. Life without restraints. This is from the Mounties for Freedom. There's all sorts of info out there. So in the notice of the new, and then it goes into the Canadian rights and freedoms. So we've got a Charter of Rights, which means we have everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. Then it goes into definitions of all of that. Our Bill of Rights, the Canadian Human Rights, the BC Public Health Act, and then preventative measures. Preventative measures include the following: being treated or vaccinated. And number 6, a person, and I'm skipping, like I'm not going to read all of this. I didn't hand you guys packages to go through and prep for this. If somebody wants to call me and come and look at all the shit, I would love to have a coffee or a Corona beer and discuss what I have here. A person who has made an objection must not be required to take the preventative measures. So anyway, criminal codes, informed consent. A lot of people, including my stepdaughter who's a pharmacist, was first in line in June. She got 2 of my grandkids vaxxed. I don't know if she read the labels. I don't know if she knows what was in some of the shit. Informed consent under Section 265 and 266 of the Criminal Code of Canada. A person commits an assault when, without the consent of another person, he applies force intentionally to that other person, directly or indirectly. Everyone who commits an assault is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or an offense punishable or summary of conviction. I've had people that we work for send me notices saying if any of my people are not jabbed and they're on site, each person I get fined for $300 per person. But I've been checking with lawyers. I can't force my employees to go get a medical procedure. Masks are medical. Vaccinations, experimental or not, are medical procedures. So again, it falls on me. So I'm interpreting a lot of stuff. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm just trying to do my due diligence and navigate through this.
I appreciate that, Helen. Thank you for coming in tonight and presenting to us.
You're welcome. Coffee anytime over at my office.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkowka.
That all items in the Monday, December 6, 2021 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Just to double check, Councillor Lehman, are you on the line again?
Yes.
Thank you. And just a reminder, if you are opposed to a motion, please voice your opposition. Otherwise, it will be taken as a positive vote. Thank you.
I will.
Any items on the consent agenda council would like to lift? Councillor Howe.
7.4, safety concerns at the community center.
Seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Howe.
So as we were speaking earlier, this is our opportunity to try to ask some questions. Change the way we're doing it. As the previous presenter was in here, our staff has to interpret some of these things and run with it the way that they interpret it. They don't come and ask us every single thing to vote on. And they make interpretations and do the best of their ability to protect the community. And I do agree that that's what staff has been trying to do to this point, and I'm not faulting staff for doing it. What I'm saying is that at this point, I think the point where you can't look through the glass to watch your child or grandkid or whatever, to me doesn't make sense. And is there any flavor with this council to try to get some clarity around that? If we were to ask whoever we're supposed to ask, Northern Health, Public Health, whoever, to say, is this actually going against an order by allowing people to stand at the glass, socially distanced with masks on? They're allowed in our community center. They can walk around anywhere they want in there. Nobody checks anything in there because you don't have to, right? You gotta have a mask on, that's it, to come in the community center by BC law. Is there any flavor of this council to at least get some clarity on that so we can go back to folks like that have came in here this evening to go and say, listen, we went to BC Health and the way we are enforcing it of not allowing spectators to actually watch through the glass is legitimate. I would like us to get that clarity rather than us try to say, yeah, our staff is right. They're doing the best they can with the information they have. We're doing the best we can with the information we have, right? They have an absolute point here. I mean, I've traveled around BC and I've been in a lot of arenas, and I guarantee you there are places where you can spectate from and watch events.
And that's part of the problem is the consistency isn't very consistent throughout the province. Ms. Thompson, now that the curtains are down at the moment, what is the plan? And also, has staff reached out to other communities with arenas in the community centers to see what they are doing as well?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I will, after I speak, I will have Chief Curry respond because he did speak with an environmental health officer today from Northern Health in regards to the measures that have been taken at the community center. So I know in Fort St. John that they have the walking track above, and so there, as soon as you walk into the arena, or into the actual ice surface, you do have to present vaccine passport. There were spectators that were going up top on the walking track and watching. So now Fort St. John has actually had to have staff up there and ensure that people keep walking, that they're not standing there even and looking over and watching. So, you know, it is, other communities are reacting as well when it is against the, there's stuff taking place that is against what the public health order and what the Northern Health Order is saying. A lot of communities, you can't go into their ring, they're maybe not quite as visible as ours is with the main area and the arena. So at this time, we are working with our user groups as much as we can and trying to figure out those ways through, right? If it's no spectating, then minor hockey isn't required to go into the skating lounge unless we would block it off that says that this is going to be considered part of the arena and enforcement. Then minor hockey would check for vaccination passports there. By doing no spectating, our expectation is that we don't have spectators there and that they do not need to be carded for their vaccination passport. But I will have Chief Curry respond to what the information he received today.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So as Ms. Thompson alluded, I did partake in a meeting with the Environmental Health Officer from Northern Health on Friday of last week. This was as a result of a complaint registered with Northern Health to the district and minor hockey. Out of this meeting, I stressed the importance of how our building is actually organized. And when you think of arena, you just think of an arena as a building itself. It's very cut and dry. Spectators, no spectators, it's fairly simple. Our rec center isn't that clear cut. We have Work BC, we've got washroom facilities for the downtown core, we have meeting rooms and conference rooms, we have a gym and all the other facility amenities in our facility, which makes them rather unique. When talking about the things that we've implemented to date, Northern Health was quite agreeable to that when we have to weigh the essential service need of that building compared to just being a recreation facility. There was some conversations about curtains. They were made aware of the curtains. I did speak on them and say that they were being removed for safety concerns. During this discussion, Northern Health actually asked me if there was another way that we could put the curtains back in place because it was the most simple, clear-cut way for us to deter spectators from outside of the building and to cease the gathering in those locations. Understanding that there is a safety concern brought up by our staff, I said that is not the case. They said, is there another way that we could do this? Putting CCTV cameras for our maintenance staff in the arena, and we're talking about bigger costs and things like that, not something that at this point we're willing to undertake. So we've got signage. We've taken benches away, we've taken chairs away, we've got signage saying, no loitering, no spectating in these places, keep moving. That's not to say that an individual can't come in, check on their kid on the ice, keep on moving, walk around. Our facility staff is monitoring those locations, and we had to commit to that to Northern Health to say that yes, we have our own maintenance people, our facility staff that are actually walking through and, for lack of a better term, shuffling people along that may be seen in these no spectating areas. Along with that, we also had to provide some recommendations, say that we're going to monitor this. If it becomes a problem, we may have to go to some other means, whether that be install fencing or something else to deter people from getting right up close to the glass and watching. To date, that has not been the case. In speaking with user groups, it has been fairly well received with the no spectators and no loitering signs that are in place, and it seems to be working. We're not seeing that as much as we were, so that tells us that we're on the right track.
Okay, and as far as, so Northern Health wasn't inclined to entertain social distancing in front of the glass? Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Friend. Chief Curry?
So, no, Your Worship, Northern Health is not, because that would be in a conflict of the Northern Health Order that's currently in place. It's very cut and dry, saying that if you want to hold an event inside, apologies, I did have it here before I was flipping pages. If you want to hold an event, you have to have all of the events in the orders plus Section I, which is proof of vaccination. So I'll quote this if you'd like. So a person may permit a place to be used for any for or may organize or be present in any inside event for the provision of this part and part I, which is proof of vaccinations, are complied with. If you have a spectator, which and youth sport actually falls into category B of what the definition of an inside event is, if you want to have this, you have to comply with everything else that's there, spectators included. We had to have, there's no gray area at this point. If you're spectating and you're found spectating, whether it be inside the arena, up top, or anything like that, you are a spectator, and then subject to section I of the order, proof of vaccination.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. Just maybe a question on to staff then. Are we breaking the provincial health order by allowing unvaccinated people to the community center right now?
I don't believe so, but Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. At this time, no, because it is an essential service, the proof of vaccination is required where it is said in the order that it needs to be required. So that's when user groups are having events and like that, we are not. I do want to note that I did look up the legal opinion we did receive, and it was on September 20th of 2021. And it was through Lidstone and Company, and the lawyer was Andrew Caricato. And one of the things that was noted in there is that failure to comply with the order is an offense, and the fine that if you're found guilty of that, is you're liable to, on conviction, to a fine of up to $25,000 or 6 months in jail or both.
Okay.
So that was, we don't comply with the order. There are fines that may be imposed on the district up to $25,000.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So, I've made my opinions on vaccines known, but I think it's important to recognize how we all play with risk not how we play, how we assess risk and risk versus reward in these situations. We as individuals may be okay with taking certain risks. That's up on us. And once you start being responsible for more and more people and more things, I think it's our responsibility to be risk adverse. So I don't think it is harmful to get information, to ask for information, like Councillor Howe was saying. I'm glad to hear that we've heard from the environmental officer and had their opinions on what we're doing. I'm glad that we were able to operate in this way to allow hockey. But for myself, when we are potentially risking sport and recreation for hundreds of children, I am more inclined to be risk adverse. Individuals themselves may be willing to take more risks, and I understand that. But at the same time, I think we need to recognize that we have a lot of people's opportunities, freedom to play sports at risk, definitely need to be risk adverse, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. The delegation we heard tonight brought forward a lot of good points on how the health orders are affecting families and children when it comes to safety and segregation and so on. Council's not here to tell you whether to get the vaccine or not to. Council's here to follow the rules that we have as councillors to abide by, and that is the provincial health order. At this point, I can't see myself going any other way than following those orders as presented. But we also can lobby our own MLAs ourselves and find out, when you say that you're vaccinated and unvaxxed can still be getting COVID, that's a true situation. So January 19th is a kind of a far ways away, and hockey is still going strong. And I think it's our job too, is just to find out, ask more questions, try to figure out other ways around it, because it is a concern. It's, but we also, we have a letter here just before this letter saying thank you so much for supporting these organizations and following the orders. So, we've got this and this. I mean, the percentage of people vaccinated in the town is far more than the people unvaccinated. It is a choice made individually. At this point, I think we have to stick with I would vote for sticking with the health orders as going. There is the difference between the arena area where the minor hockey has to patrol that, or that is their job to make sure people are vaccinated in that area. We have a different rule for upstairs. That's where I think is the only way we could do, and I know staff has put the 2 meter distancing, wear your masks. If people were just follow those rules, I think there could be some leeway there on the upper floor.
Councillor Howe?
Well, it doesn't say 2 meters on the upper floor, it says no spectators. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm looking for, is for clarity, and I think I have clarity from what the fire chief said. It doesn't sound like that if we went and asked, is there clarity on this? It's pretty clear from the way he said it to me. So then another idea that we could maybe throw out there, it's not perfect, but there's an application out there now called Live Barn. So Live Barn is basically a Wi-Fi camera that's set up in the arena, and that Wi-Fi camera scans the ice 24 hours a day. So anytime anybody's on the ice, you can log into Live Barn and you can watch a practice, you can watch a game, figure skating, whatever you want. And so that may be an application that this council could look at. A lot of hockey groups are now going to a platform called Hockey TV for their live games, and you pay for a subscription. But Live Barn is no cost, so it could be something that we could look at to at least try to bridge the gap at this point. Barring that, I can't think of anything else, any other way that we can do it.
It's a great idea.
Besides writing a letter to ask for clarity rather than.
No, that's a great idea. We can certainly look into that. It's really a matter of, we're certainly not going to be able to accommodate everything or everybody, but, being a minor hockey parent for so many years and being involved in the board, I certainly understand what all the parents are going through, as well as the volunteers, and it's extremely taxing on them. I would be shocked to think minor hockey can continue at the moment the way it is, but we've got a lot of committed people there that really want to see their kids enjoy their season. There's no right or wrong on this, absolutely. I do like that idea of the Live Barn, though. That's something we can certainly look into. Any other comments? Anything else on the consent agenda? Councillor Norbury, please.
7.3.
7.3 for discussion. Councillor Majinski seconds. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. We're kind of just like to address the letter from Mrs. McQueen. I take an opportunity to say that at this point in time, staff have made a collective decision on how we can navigate the situation with spectators. They feel that we can remain in compliance with public health orders by these actions, and hopefully they can do their best to manage through the season, because that's what we all want. We want to see our rink stay open for all people, as well as our hockey users. So thank you for the letter.
Absolutely, and thank you to our staff, Ms. Thompson and Mr. Curry, for working with the user groups. It's certainly a daunting task for them to have to try and comply, and I certainly don't. I'm thankful I'm not in that situation at the moment. Any other items on consent agenda? Moving on to new business, 9.1. Fire Services Master Plan, report dated December 6, 2021, from the Director of Protective Services with the Fire Services Master Plan. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That council receives and accepts the fire service master plan as presented, and further that council directs administration to begin the tender process for the replacement of the Wildland Fire Apparatus Squad 4.
Seconder. Councillor Kirkcalka, discussion. Councillor Kirkcalka.
I actually have a couple things. So it's on page 51 of the agenda. It's under recommendation 4. Couple things there, just on the top one, it says on number 2 bullet, vehicle status should reflect the department's business, ensure adequate numbers and types of vehicles are available for emergency operational and administration functions. The allocations reflect job size. So I was in and talked to Ms. Thompson. I just want to get clarity here. To me, the way I read it is there's, we have numerous amount of vehicles over there as of today. We have a command, we have an engine, we have a ladder, we have a rescue. You have a wildland fire truck right now, but it's looking at being replaced. Is there any vehicles that they're thinking of that all of a sudden we're going to start seeing river boats and quads and a helicopter added to our fleet? Like it's almost opening it up, is what it's saying in that paragraph I read.
Adequate numbers.
And that scares me.
Well,
Just to prove it. Well, but again, they got to come back. But when we start approving a fire master plan like that, like a little bit of forefront to that is probably more important.
Well, I think, to ensure adequate numbers and types of vehicles really needs to coincide with the services that this council wants our fire department to provide. And that is part of the other recommendation on where council needs to set that those standards out. So I think, let me just see here. Which one is it? I'm not sure. Anyways, I think, once council sets out those standards and procedures for what we expect as far as services go, then I think the adequate number of vehicles would coincide. But Ms. Thompson, any other information, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. At this time, all apparatus that the district does have are in the fleet replacement policy. And at this time, there are no plans to add to what that fleet replacement is. The fire service master plan is also something we have into the future, so I can't say what's going to happen in 5 years. But currently, we have sufficient vehicle or sufficient equipment.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkhalka.
So with the vehicles I mentioned as of today, that's what is needed.
Ms. Thompson.
Well, I mentioned command and engine, there's a rescue unit, there's a ladder truck, and there's right now as well. I understand wildlife's already it's in the same motion right now to be re-looked at for replacement. I totally get that concept. So right now, that's the vehicles we have, and that's what is needed for that department.
Correct.
Councillor Norbury.
To follow up with that, anything new would need to come before council beforehand, correct? Like this isn't a carte blanche. It's going to come to us first, right?
Absolutely. Councillor Kirkhalka.
My other question would be, I understand that we're direct administration to start the process of replacement of the wildland fire apparatus. There's other motions in there when they talk about it, and whether we're going to be ahead of ordering that vehicle or getting quotes on that vehicle. But when it talks in there about making sure that we just trying to find it here. The technology part of it. So are we going to be ahead of that before we order this truck? So, like I understand, there's a picture in one of these pages that they represent wildland truck. And I had that discussion too. It's on page 61. Kind of what a Type 3 or 4 for a wildland fire truck is. Not every community has one, including communities like Tumbler. False Creek doesn't have something like that, but that's not my concern. My concern is we're asking them to go out and start, to me, tendering a process to replace the wildland fire apparatus. But are we going to be ahead of the technology?
For that vehicle?
For that vehicle. Just before I go to staff, because my concern there is that's one of the bullets that they talk about in this master plan as we proceed through it, is to make sure that we're updating the technology in those units that we think is a benefit to the area and to our residents in our community. And if we're going to push forward buying a new wildland truck and miss the technology part of it, I would like to see the technology part, or that recommendation 4, get pushed ahead of the ordering, so we see what the technology that they're trying to add to this new unit.
Okay. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Bertrand, through council. I'm not aware of the full specifications on that wildland, so I will ask Chief Curry to respond.
Mayor and council, so technology doesn't advance in the fire service by leaps and bounds, right? So what they're talking about in this master plan with technology, it's more in lines of having a one-stop shop for the provision of the services. So not having one truck that has the pump and one truck that has the water and one truck that carries the people. It's having one truck that can combine all of these elements into it in order to reduce the amount of apparatus that are actually going out and thereby maximizing our personnel. I can have 3 people respond to that truck instead of having on one truck instead of having 6 people on 3 pieces of apparatus. So the current technology is what we're going to be working with. There's not any advancements to we're forecasting in the next 5 years in terms of especially wildland firefighting, maybe in terms of thermal imaging and other structural firefighting components, but not in terms of how forest firefighting, wildland firefighting is actually conducted. So yes, we will be in line with current technology for this tender process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kukalka.
We'll see a list of those technology coming for the wildland, and I asked that. I mean, I have a fairly large background there, and when you say there's no new technology out there in regards to wildland units, I think I can pull some information out that there is quite a bit available to add to these vehicles that make it more sense when you go to a wildland fire. I mean, my understanding of Tumbler Ridge, and the fire chief can or correct it or add to it, but really and truly, when we have a wildland fire, we may go out there, but so is forestry. Mm-hmm. Forestry is immediately being responding. I mean, within the town limits, like when we talk playgrounds on fire, a little bit different. Whether it's flatbed falls, flatbed loops, it's forestry. Forestry's got to come in as well. Just like when we had it up in behind the BMX track or up on the hill there. They come in. I mean, it's no different in Dawes Creek if they have a large fire within one of their forested areas within their community. Forestry just still does come in, but there is a lot of technology out there for this kind of stuff, and that's why I want to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity when we're buying these new trucks that should last 20 to 30 years. Like, it's a long lifespan, so to me, we want to, sure, it's going to change in 10 years. To me, we want to make sure we grab that stuff while we can, whether it's the diameter of the hoses that we should be changing to, the pump capacity, the foaming adding. Like, there's multiple locations of that kind of stuff. So.
Ms. Thompson, as far as the specs go on the truck, will council have ability to view that?
Thank you. So we haven't done that in the past. We have to balance the needs of the community and the wishes of what, as staff, that we want, but also what everybody feels that it should be on council as well. So if it is something that, I would suggest to have a committee meeting, or if it be discussed at PPC or something outside of that, but I'm not quite understanding the level of detail required, because staff have expertise in that as well.
Yeah. And the end goal is to upgrade this truck to improve efficiency. And I think you're right, Councillor, that forestry does get involved, but it really is the first response would come from the municipality, I would assume. So it is really to ensure that we're able to be as effective and efficient as possible with little resources. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think with last year and the year subsequent, seeing more and more wildfire events and getting pretty close to home, I'd rather take a preventative measure and make sure that we have our best tool in our pocket to combat a wildfire event and not wait on forestry. Like, I don't know what the forestry response time for the fires outside of town this year, but I know I was not very happy, and I and a lot of other residents were very frightened over, well, I wouldn't say frightened, but concerned with the lack of response. And if we have an ability to react to that ourselves, I think we should leap at that opportunity. But I think, we as council do need to be accountable for our purchasing. So I know Chief is an expert in this field, and don't we sign off on RFPs when they come back? Isn't that common? Like, we have to award the RFP for some instances?
I believe so. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So yes, we do bring it back to council for approval of the RFPs based on the recommendations and what we've received.
Councillor?
And at that time, we will be able to, do our cross our T's and dot our I's just to make sure that the technology is within acceptable limits as a recommendation from our staff. good for me.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so I'm not, and I apologize if staff took it that way, I'm not here to do Chief Kerr's job, I think he'll do a fantastic job. My thing is in there, we're looking at $325,000 for a truck. Maybe there's things that could be added on, and I mean, I don't even know, I think staff is very, very good at staying within those budget lines or those concepts. But maybe he needs $400,000, and with the other $75,000, this is what it adds to it. So I'm not here to spend a bunch of money, but maybe it's worth our amount. I mean, I'm sorry, we talk about what the update within council chambers is gonna be, and that came back, and I think it was $70,000 difference. So maybe it's, sorry?
20.
Okay, $20,000, $20K on a $50,000 budget. So that's the same thing. Let's say it's $50,000 and you get 20K for every 50 grand he spends. There could be things that are out there, and that's why I want that opportunity to come back when there's certain technology that comes forward. Or maybe it's a total different style of truck, and that's why I want that input. And it's not there to order what hoses he wants or whatever. I don't want to get into that. But there might be where we're budgeting $325K. Maybe we're a little low. And I don't want to pre-approve anything. Sorry, I'm like $325K, but if staff could come back and say, you know, for the extra $50,000, this is what we can get, and this is what the difference it will do for the community. Whether it's the trailers for all the sprinkler systems that can be added to the same scenario that the wildland truck can pull, stuff like that. I think we need to be open to that. That's kind of what I meant when it came to technology.
Basically, what you're saying is you don't want the budget to limit the efficiency or effectiveness of that unit, right? Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Second recommendation, Councillor Norbury.
Excuse me. The council directs administration to forward the implementation costs for the balance of the recommendations contained in the fire service master plan to the 2022 budget discussions.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 9.2, Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee Terms of Reference Amendment. Report dated December 6, 2021 from the Chief Administrative Officer with amendments to the Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee Terms of Reference. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkowka.
The council amends the Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee Terms of Reference to include a member from the BC Ambulance to the committee membership.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion. Ms. Thompson, I'm wondering if this committee, the name of this committee needs to be formally changed to the Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee, or does it? I recognize this committee as the Mayor's Health Task Force, so I'm just wondering if we should be changing the name, or have we?
If you look on page 88 of your agenda, we do have the Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee Terms of Reference. So that's not something that we have changed, and I'm not aware when the name did change. But that is what it is referenced on here as the Tumbler Ridge Health Needs Committee.
From original. Oh, okay, very well. Councillor Kirkowka.
Just says just above the lighted area. I think on all of those, it's lighted. If you go right to the top, it does talk about the Mayor's Task Force there. So maybe that's where you got it from.
Yeah, I'm getting confused there, yeah.
Yeah, it just talks about it there.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? I think this will be a great addition. I think it's well needed. Absolutely. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 9.3, Tumbler Ridge Community Forest Corporate Registry. Report dated December 6, 2021 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the Tumbler Ridge Community Forest Corporate Registry. I will read the recommendation. It's a long one, so brace yourselves. I'll move that the financial statements of the Tumbler Ridge Community Forest Corporation, the company, for the financial year ending December 31st, 2020 be accepted, and that confirmation be made that the Tumbler Ridge Community Forest Corporation Board of Directors consists of Rob Mackay, Marcia Dufresne, Jonathan Howe, Alan Kangas, Stacy Lajeunesse, Chris Norbury, and Jan Legaspi as at June 30th, 2021, And that Steve Torrey and Jonathan Howe be removed as directors of the Tumbler Ridge Community Forest effective August 25th, 2021. And that the appointment of KPMG as auditor of the company for the fiscal year of 2021 for the Tumbler Ridge Community Forest Corporation be endorsed. And that Ratcliffe LLP be appointed as the company's agent to sign and electronically file the notice of change of directors. And that all lawful contracts, acts, proceedings, appointments, and payments made by the directors of the company during the last annual reference period and which have been previously disclosed to the shareholders are approved, ratified, and confirmed. Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion. Councillor Howe.
First thing is why does it take so long for this to come through? Why, if their fiscal year ends December 31st, 2020, why are we into December of 2021 before this comes in front of council? Is that not a concern of our staff that we are now in a situation where we have to quickly make a decision on this because we don't have it in front of us? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, every year it's been like this. Every year, it's 6, 8, 10 months down the road, there's always an excuse. COVID or whatever it is this time, I don't know. Is there a reason why?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. So I received the paperwork the beginning of November, and in order to put the report and go through everything is when I was able to get the report back to council to get to request the resolution and ratification.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Councillor Howe is absolutely correct, and like these things are I mean, at the very least, at least we're getting this, the year of and not a year late. So, there has been improvements being made. We do need to absolutely make sure that these are happening in a timely fashion. Thankfully, our legal team has identified this and brought this forward to the board earlier than November. There is also a period of time when the board receives it to when the board can all sign off on some of these things. There are issues of some board members or previous board members were unavailable for periods of time. So it's not a very good excuse. I recognize that, and I don't think it's an excuse we should take. But I think the community forest is improving, and that will be something that I will bring to the board to make sure that we have a little more duty to get all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. There is a challenge when we only meet 4 times a year. And due to the nature of our board currently, there has been challenges meeting. So, again, a poor excuse, but there are reasons. And we are trying to make sure that is a priority moving forward. I know that our financials, they were made available immediately after our AGM. I presented that to council. I made my reports on when these, we saw the people come through our process of approving directors. So I think council is aware of all these things that's happening, but in terms of a legal standpoint, this is a commitment that we have to go to our shareholder to have the shareholder sign off on these changes when we do our registries.
Right. Okay. Councillor Howe.
So sometimes year end, actually having your year end being December 31st is a hindrance because 80% of the companies out there use a similar year end. And maybe that's why the accountants are backed up. But we are, recommending who they're going to use for their to go over their financials, right? KPMG as their auditor. Perhaps that's I just don't think I should have to every year that this comes in have to bring this forward. And if it's an issue with the directors who are on the community forest, then that needs to get back to them. That maybe they need to change their fiscal year or whatever it is. They're done April 12th, and there's a process before it gets to staff. Staff needs to review it to make sure they have the information before it gets presented in front of us. I'm fine with that, but this should have been months ago. So you have some time to think about it. So you're not in a rush to make it happen. Just every year it's the same thing. It doesn't seem like the shareholders are actually being listened to. The second thing I want some clarity on is that in this it says that all lawful contracts, So just the lawful ones we're going to comment on. Acts, proceedings, appointments, and payments made by the directors of the company during the last annual reference period and which have been previously disclosed to the shareholders are approved, ratified, and confirmed. Can I get some more clarity on what that is that I am about to approve? Because I am not aware of what has been previously disclosed to me. And was it previously disclosed back in April? And now we're looking at it in December? My mind's not that good. We got a lot of stuff that we go over in here. What are we talking
I
about?
think, from what I understand, I think they're asking us to endorse the acts, proceedings, and appointments from the previous year's board for that year ending. I believe that's what it is, but Ms. Thompson, if you can add to that, please.
Thank you, Member Trent, through council. So you are correct that any business that the Community Forest Board has discussed, that we're okay with it, you know, or that they've approved and they've gone ahead with. So any of their cut blocks and their plan that they have, that you're okay with it. You know, if there are any concerns, we do have a member of council that sits on the board that does, you know, bring stuff to us at this, you know, if it does come up. We were made aware of certain things that were going on with the community forest throughout the year, and at that point, we were okay with different aspects of the community forest board and everything. So I've never seen individual contracts that the community forest board has, but they are still separate and apart from the shareholder at a time, and if they do have concerns, they should be reporting it to the shareholder.
Thank you. Councillor Howe.
So I'm not comfortable approving this recommendation based on what that is there. That portion I think should be removed and brought to closed, and I think it should be discussed and closed. So I can't support the motion as it sits on the floor unless that portion is removed from it and we have a chance to talk about it in closed.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, this last, after reading it myself, I kind of predicted this last paragraph would be contentious. So is this legislation, is this brought on by legislation as us being a shareholder of the corporation? Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent. So I did go through the papers that were submitted last year, and this clause was also in there last year. So it is just something that is required with the Business Corporations Act. They need confirmation that everything is being followed by the Community Forest Board. So that is why it is in here, is that it is actually something that has been signed previously by the district in regard to the community forest.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'd like to make clear that all contracts made by the community forest are legal, and there is no illegalities happening where Councillor Howe was trying to infer. We have presented the budgeted financials at our last AGM that was open to the public, and I personally forwarded it to all of council to review. This is December 6th, and if the shareholder had issues, we did have an opportunity at our shareholder meeting to discuss it. I am made available that I can present those issues to the board, and at this point in time, if those issues have not been brought up until now, I don't understand why we are not comfortable in making these decisions that we need to have to conduct business. Why we should be holding that up because we haven't looked at the financials for a year. The board has certified this. The people that we have asked to take this on, they take the role seriously.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howe?
You know, I was not inferring that there may be an illegal contract. Can you just clarify that? That's not what I was referring to. What I'm referring to is that before I am going to approve a recommendation, if I am aware of something that I would like clarity on, regardless if the community forest has a timeline that now is a rush for this council, I don't care. Sorry, get the information to us quicker. Something has come to my attention, it has come to this council's attention, and I suggest that we take this portion out, bring it to closed, get some clarity from staff. If that is all good, once we leave closed, if you do not remember what I'm talking about, just take the opportunity to move this portion into closed so we can discuss it with staff. If it's good to go, we will pass it and we will move on. But I am aware of something that I am not comfortable voting on at this time.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, can you please help me with the procedure in trying to move this motion to closed? Council does have that ability to make that motion on any item, I believe, so I'm just wondering, just wanted to clarify that, please.
One moment, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. So under section 91J, which is information that is prohibited or information that if it was presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. So council can go into closed based on that, because the item is on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, would you like to make a motion?
I'm not gonna vote on what we have here until that portion is removed, so
Right,
I'm gonna vote against the motion that's on the floor.
but we can get, okay, so we need to deal with this motion at the moment before we make a motion to close, is that correct? Possibility to defer this motion then?
Can we just remove that portion and vote on the rest of it?
That could be an
You read
amendment.
it, but-
That could be an amendment, but given the legislation on the Corporations Act, I think it needs to be all included. I'm assuming that's why it is such a long recommendation. Is that correct, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So there were multiple documents that needed to be signed. It was just put into one resolution for everything that you needed. So I want to say that the financial statement and the lawful contracts. So you can remove a portion of it, which would mean that one document at this time wouldn't be signed. Right? There are other documents except for the financial statement and whatnot that still would be, but the document that contains that clause will not be signed.
Okay. Okay, so motion to amend the recommendation, Councillor Howe?
Sure.
To remove the last, is that
Yep.
the amendment you'd like to make?
Sure.
Seconder on the amendment, Councillor Majinski. Discussion on the amendment, Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. You know, at this point in time, I'm not in favor of the amendment, as I don't think we should be making decisions based on speculation and theory. There is no actual information that the financial statement or any contracts, acts, or proceedings are in arrears at this time. If there is evidence, I would welcome it, but at this time, there isn't. So I don't think we should be going in the direction that they're guilty before they're, proven innocent. Or, until there's concrete evidence. Why are we worried?
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Majinski.
Even if we do go into closed, this still can be resolved, as long as, and I feel comfortable if Councillor Howe is wanting some clarity, and if I am under the impression what he's under, then I want to hear it as well, just to be a clear conscience going forward to make a proper decision. I don't think this is going to delay anything. I don't think we're not going to do a misstep and miss one signature. If we are, and it has to wait until our next meeting, first week of January, so be it. But I don't think it's going to be that, so I just want to get a final, clear, concise vote on this, especially if there are some things that might have, and yeah, it might have happened, 3 months ago? Laws could have changed too, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Carried, thank you. And discussion on the amended motion? All in favor of the amended motion? Carried, thank you. Councillor Howe, did you want to move to closed? Or make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion that we, what was it, under section
91J?
91J, that we move the last paragraph of the recommendation in 9.3 to closed.
Seconder, Councillor Majinski. Discussion? Councillor Norbury?
believe we removed the financial statements as well from the community forest. Nope, okay. Fine with that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 5-minute recess while we prepare to move to closed. Or do we want to wait till the end item? Okay, thank you. Just checking. 9.4. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I need to step out on this one as I work at the library and I have a pecuniary interest.
Thank you. Thank you. 9.4, lease renewal, Tumbler Ridge Library Association, report dated November 15th, 2021, from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the lease renewal of the Tumbler Ridge Library Association. Recommendation, please, Councillor Howe.
Council enters into a 5-year lease agreement with Tumbler Ridge Library Association for the space known as the Public Library for $1 a year, starting November 16th, 2021, to November 15th, 2026.
Seconder. Councillor Kirby, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Good job. 9.5, South Peace Collaborative Services Committee. Report dated December 6, 2021, from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding appointment to the South Peace Collaborative Services Committee. I'd like to move for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So I previously have sat in on a few of these meetings. Basically, it's a conglomeration of regional, mostly South Peace regional health services people. And their goal at the moment is to create a primary care network within the South Peace, as well as a division. The South Peace division isn't actually a division at this time. They're working towards that. So there is some exciting things going on out there. Does any of council wish to sit on the committee? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I would like to sit on the committee. I've been speaking with Dr. Helm about this, and he's sold me on it. I think it'd be a great opportunity to have our voices heard. I'm a part of was a part of the Health Services Society out of Dawson Creek, as well as the Building Health Community Committee in Tumbler Ridge. So I'd like to have an opportunity to be a part.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any comments? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. You're currently on the Health Needs Task Force, correct? So why do we need to have somebody sit on that? Why couldn't they come and do a delegation to the Health Needs Task Force when there is new ideas and openings available, instead of having one of our members going to these committees all the time? What is going to be the end goal with this committee? Like, we always have all these subcommittees, committees, and then some of them we've already done that with some, like even with our TAC, we didn't like the direction they're going, so we shut it down, put it on hold, put it on pause.
Shut TAC down.
Well, it's on hold. We put a lot of it, all of the stuff we were working on hold, right? So what is the purpose of this, and where are we going to go for, what are we looking to attain from this?
The purpose of this committee, I think, is a collaborative effort for all of the South Peace to come together and find solutions to common problems. But it's also, I think the end goal of this committee is to create a division in the South Peace that isn't currently in place. There is a North Peace division, but there isn't a South Peace division. And part of that division as well is to create a primary care network. So those are all things that we don't currently have at the moment, and I think this committee is really focused on trying to attain those. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. You know, with that, the reason why I'm excited about it is that it's going to take it from a local level. The idea here is to take it to a higher level. So all of our committees now, not all of them, but many of them, deal locally, Tumbler Ridge. This will be going to the region as well as potentially the province. So there are more opportunities when you get higher up. And yeah, for me, I think it's exciting.
Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. On this committee, will there be anybody appointed that will be a voice for the unvaccinated?
I have no idea.
I think it would be a benefit.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so just on some of the comments from Councillor Kirby there, it's on page 121 of our agenda. It's an idea that was set out at the Health Needs Force Task Force. I wasn't at the meeting. Councillor Lehman chaired that day there, wasn't able to make it. This was brought forward by Dr. Hellman. On that page, it's suggesting who they're looking for. So they're looking for, obviously, staff, so they're looking for Chief Curry. And I don't think we can mandate when staff partakes. But also at that meeting, which Councillor Lehman filled me in, they're also looking for staff involvement. So having staff time put into this committee in regards to minute taking and all this. So I think there's a bigger discussion about this committee than just, oh, who do we appoint? Who do we appoint? Because now we also have to look at budget. And when we say that we can't continue on with TAC because staff is full. And we can't do any more. But now we want to add this to that and have more staff time put into another committee. My committee already uses staff time to take minutes for our meeting, which we will have a BCM to sit on, which is one of the names that is mentioned. We also have councillors sit on it. We have Northern Health sit on there. We have Dr. Helm sit on there. Plus we have the intern chief of staff out of Fort St. John that sits on that task force, the health task force meeting that we meet once a month. Mm-hmm. So I understand what their idea, and Councillor Norbert mentioned it. But I mean, South Peace already meets. The same kind of people are on that agenda. So is that now that new one, or the one that you sit on now, the Peace, South Peace, is that gone?
No, there's a bit of confusion here. So the South Peace Collaborative Services Committee, that's the one that I've been attending for the last couple of years. That's a group of the doctors, the chief medical officer for Northern Health, and Mayor of Dawson, Mayor of Chetwynd, myself, and it's just a collaborative group that's working on the division status and also the primary care network. Now, in that committee, they're talking about, as Dr. Helm was mentioning, they're talking about creating a new subcommittee from the CSC that includes these people that are listed here to report to this collaborative services committee. So when I spoke with Dr. Helm recently, I had mentioned that maybe this is an opportunity, instead of boggling down with so many committees, maybe this is an opportunity for our health needs committee to expand to be that committee to report to the health services committee as well. Instead of creating a separate one, this health needs task force that we have compiled already is the perfect model for this new committee, subcommittee that they want to create, he's talking about. So there's opportunities there. But this collaborative services committee, this is separate from the new that they want to create. That's listed on 121. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. When it comes to costs of staff time, we're doing I think every avenue is worth exploring when it comes to advocating for health services in Tumbler. I mean, maybe there's a time we do a check back in a year from now on how effective this committee is, and if it's ineffective, there's no opportunities growing from it, then we can say, okay, you know what, let's cut off the staff time support in what we're doing. But I think it's worth trying at the least. Just so that we can say we tried.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so if you can get clarity, because I read it totally different, your worship. Because even on the alternative recommendation, is that District Tumbler declines the participation in the South Peace Collaborative Service Committee as a health needs task force is active. So, like, when I was in, and I mean, this was after the meeting, I couldn't attend, but I did have a chat with Councilor Lehman and even Ms. Thompson, and that was the thought of this, is that this starting up this other committee, and again, staff time. I mean, I'm sorry, Councilor, but I'm not sure if I totally agree with you there. When staff says they can't do certain things because their plates are full, and we're starting to add more and more stuff to staff. I mean, I have issues with that. When we can't ask for certain things we've done around the council chambers because staff is full, let's start up another task force, another committee, and put some more staff time. I don't know, I mean, it's just seems weird when we hear from staff that their tables are full, so we want to start hiring more staff, stop giving us work. So,
Yeah, no,
but
it's,
just if we can get clarity from Ms. Thompson, please, because maybe I read it wrong, or maybe my discussion with her was wrong, but that's my understanding.
this is wanting to create, from what I understand, Dr. Hellman had mentioned to me, this is wanting to create another committee or a subcommittee to report to the South Peace Collaborative Services Committee. That's what's referenced here with the list of people. So the Collaborative Services Committee is, like I said, a group that meets, I think it's once a month or once every 2 months. And I have been a part of that. We have received minutes from it. It has come to agendas. But the new committee that they're talking about is really wanting to be a subcommittee to report to the Primary Care Network group of the Collaborative Services Committee. So my suggestion was, instead of doubling up on committees, we already have a Health Needs Task Force Committee in place, newly BC Ambulance included. We can add a couple more recommendation people onto the Health Needs Task Force, and I believe that group can report to this Collaborative Services Committee, in my opinion. Councillor Kirkowka.
So the reason we're looking for appointments is because you don't want to sit on it anymore and you're stepping down?
No, I never intended to step down, no.
So if we can just click clarity on that.
Ms. Thompson?
It seems weird it came back for appointments if you're still on the committee and not stepping down.
I think it was an opportunity to discuss how we want to be involved, I believe. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent, Council. So my understanding of the email from Ms. Miracle was that this was the committee that was being created. So further reading into it, it does say a subcommittee for each community. But she didn't explain I didn't know about the committee and all the details of everything that is on it. So I didn't understand and took the name of what she had in her email with all the people that they were, Dr. Howe had
Certainly.
suggested, so.
It is very confusing, believe me. It's not straight and narrow, that's for sure. Councillor?
So you already sit on that committee?
I do.
Do you need more people to sit on that committee? Or
No,
is this something we can just,
no, but it's really an opportunity to discuss this other subcommittee and whether or not council would like to be involved in that, or whether we can integrate the Health Needs Task Force into that. Councillor?
so why wouldn't we wait till that subcommittee is talked about putting together and have it come back to council?
Certainly we
I
can.
mean, if it's just a discussion, listen to Ms. Thompson, it's something that was floating in the emails. It was talked about, I believe, at that health task force meeting, because they were looking to see if they could also get some staff time to sit there and take notes and send emails to people. So to me, I think we need to find out what kind of staff time we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't believe it'll be for the Collaborative Services Committee, because the
I think it's for
division,
some.
yes, the division takes care of that part of it. So it would be for the sub, yes. And that's why I mentioned the Health Needs Task Force.
So maybe we can just, I mean, there's no motion on the floor about it anyways. Maybe we can get some more clarity at our next health task force meeting and bring that back to council on the subcommittee. Again, I wasn't there. I don't believe Councilor Lehman's on the phone anymore. He chaired that meeting, so maybe he would have some more depth.
Yeah, no,
We can wait for some more information instead of,
absolutely, and that's why I brought it for discussion. I don't think a recommendation is needed at this time. Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. So you're mentioning that Melanie is making the recommendation for the subcommittee. is she aware of the Health Needs Task Force and what their mandates are, and they're in a line with this South Peace Collaborative Services Committee? Because if they're not in a line, then what's the point? Or like, how is that going to help our community? So, and if you say that you sit on this committee already, how has this benefited our community to date?
This committee,
Yeah.
not much.
See, that's why would we need a second committee?
They're working on the primary care network. So the bigger picture is the things that they're working on, creating a South Peace division will in turn benefit our region and our community. And the primary care network will, if created, will in turn eventually benefit our community as well. So, you know, the direct benefits of this being on this committee, networking, I would say, but, you know, these kinds of things take time to implement and get in. Councillor.
Do you not think that having the Health Needs Task Force as a whole would have a better voice going towards and saying?
Absolutely, and that's why I'm suggesting the task force being this subcommittee for.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's reason to double up.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Councillor North.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Don't always like speaking on speculative matters, but, you know, from what I understand, there is potential for provincial funding if we create a primary care network for the South Peace. That's what we're talking about,
Correct.
provincial funding. So, again, speculation, the hope, so we may have to put out a little to get something. That is an opportunity. And then we're concerned about staff time, that we're gonna delegate, potentially delegate down. It's not my role on deciding how jobs get handed out, but delegating it down. I know for the Building Healthy Communities Task Force, we have a casual person that sets these things up. So we're talking about a potential casual employee managing this, and we could potentially get provincial funding to hear, to have a voice at the provincial level for our healthcare system. I personally think it's a little crazy to be, penny conscious, but we're losing, we're losing out potential other funding.
Yeah.
So
No, I think.
we can wait to get more information.
I think Councillor Kirkauka's concern was doubling up as well. I think we already have the system in place. We already have the task force operating with staff support. I agree with him in his opinion that I don't think we need to double up. So we will certainly look forward to more information on this one. 9.6, 2021 to 2025 Housing Needs Assessment. Report dated December 6, 2021 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the 2021 to 2025 Housing Needs Assessment. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That the District of Tumbler Ridge 2021-2025 Housing Needs Assessment Report dated December 6, 2021 be received, and that the Housing Needs Assessment Report be posted to the district website and be available free of charge to the public as per provincial requirements.
Seconder. Councillor Majinski. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Schedule of meetings. Any issues there, Council? I was talking earlier before the meeting about a special meeting for CAO evaluation. What's Council's flavor, before Christmas or after? Councillor Kirkauka?
Yeah, so to me, I don't want to rush through it. My ultimate goal is to just get some confirmation from our CAO, because really and truly, it's the evaluation on her. So, she okay waiting? She preferred us to try and rush through it and get it done before Christmas season comes. That's kind of where I would judge my decision on.
I mean,
Really, truly, we're evaluating that employee.
yeah, and I would disagree that at this point we're rushing anything. I think we've, it's that time of year. It's part of our job to do that, and I certainly don't want to rush this process, but it's just a matter of when we want to set the special meeting. So, Ms. Thompson, what's your preference? Please be honest.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'm comfortable with either. The only thing is pushing it to next week, the 13th, is I don't have my work plan completed. completed for 2022 that I do present to council for discussion. So that would be it would take me a lot to push to get that done.
Okay. Okay. Councillors? Councillor Norbury?
If that's the case, we should postpone it till January.
Okay. Sorry, I just checking. Councillor Lehman said he got cut off this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello? Come on, Bernie.
One of us. Maybe we just make it up.
TELUS conferencing. To join the conference, enter your access code followed by the number sign. You are the first to join the conference. Please hold. At the tone, please state your name followed by the number sign.
District of Tumbler Ridge.
Thank you.
Sorry. So the suggestion was possibly the 14th, December 14th, or sometime in January. Councillor Howe?
So what's the format we're using? I see you handed something out in front of us. Do you want us to fill out the evaluation and then we're gonna get together and discuss it before we present the results? So what date are we picking here right now? Are we picking the time that we have the stuff done to hand it in to you?
Yeah, and again, it's really up to council, what council wants. My thoughts were a roundtable like we did last time, where everybody did their own evaluation and were able to speak directly to Ms. Thompson in regards to that. If council would like me to do a summary like I had last time, I can do that. It only takes a couple hours, not a big deal. It's really up to council. I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. Councillor Howe?
Well, for my take on it, I like the way that, we filled it out on our own. It was compiled so that we came up with a number. Her rating was 4.5 or whatever. And then some discussion ensued, and you had an opportunity to explain why your number may have been lower, why your number may have been higher. But at least you get an idea of what the collaborative of the group thought. And if you get something that everybody's a 5 on, you move on to it quickly. Or everybody's a 1, well, we've got to spend some more time on something like that.
Sure.
So to me, if we're gonna set the date for the 14th, we should have all this paperwork done before then, handed into you and compiled by the 14th. Is there enough time to do that?
Absolutely. We can set the date for the 14th. If everybody can get the papers to me on the 13th at P&P. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. Are you expecting a meeting on the 14th for the evaluation, or that's when you guys are meeting, or I need to be there for the 14th? Because
You are not here the 14th?
I'm here at work on the 14th, like during the day.
Yeah,
Okay.
not in the evening. Right, okay. Councillor Howe?
So again, we could do it without Jen and our CAO and just, get together on the 14th as a collective group, come up with what we have as a group, and then talk to Jen when she gets back in January.
That's certainly an option.
It's just, I know it's a little different than what we've done before, because Jen has been.
Announcing participants.
We do our discussion, we come back or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
to me, we could do it on the 14th to try to just keep things rolling, keep the timelines up.
Get our summary together and then meet with Ms. Thompson in the new year
If
to
that's what
present.
council's- whatever.
That's
3 weeks down the road, are these thoughts still gonna be fresh in your mind, or what?
Well, if we can get the paperwork done by next Monday, I can have that compiled for the next day. Absolutely. What time on the 14th then?
What do we got for an agenda on our P&P?
Can we call it a workshop? No? Okay. Thought I'd ask.
I honestly think we're pushing it up to the 14th. This is my personal opinion. I actually believe that we should be pushing this into January. And I believe our CEO should be here, even if we have to ask our CAO to leave. If not, when we have another meeting, we need other staff here. And I'm sorry, this evaluation is for the employees. So I don't think our, no disrespect to her staff, but the members should be here that we're evaluating.
Okay. All right, well,
Participant exiting.
I'll suggest the new year then for everything. Let's go with, if we can get the evaluations to me by the 4th of the regular council meeting, I can have them compiled after the meeting. And how does the 5th or 6th sound to council? Bernie, we're just going over CAO. He's off again.
How about the 10th for the P&P? So instead of putting so much stuff on the P&P, we spend half of the time for the P&P for the evaluation.
It's possible. I was talking to Ms. Thompson about that, possibly adding it next week to the P&P, but this is, it needs to be a special meeting of council to go into closed. So it would need to be separated from the P&P or the regular council. So
Sure.
certainly we can call a special meeting on the 10th after the P&P.
Sure. Just that way, you know, you don't, I don't know what's happening on next Tuesday or whatever. Mondays have always been the day that we fit into our schedule, so.
I agree, yeah.
I don't know, we got
That
coming
works
on
for me.
P&Ps that's gonna, but that's 2 between now and then that we'll get, so.
Yeah. That works for me. Special meeting January 10th to discuss with our CAO. So if everybody can get the questions back to me by the 4th, then we'll be good to go. Okay, thank you. Any notice of motions this evening? Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'd like to put the notice of motion forward that staff add the Tumbler Ridge Global Geopark to the 2022-2023 budget discussions as a line item in the amount of $120,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other notice of motions this evening? Councillor Howe?
Put a notice of motion on the floor that staff update council with what is happening to the repairs to the memorial bench at the golf course.
Okay, thank you. Any other notice of motions? Councillor's business? Any councillor's business this evening? Councillor Howe?
Yeah, so I got something I want to just bring up. So I've received some emails over the last month or so in regards to staffing in the district of Tumbler Ridge. In particular, some positions that were created over in Public Works. And so I have some concerns about how that happened, how that happens without council oversight, and where the money comes from this year and next year and years going forward to deal with that. I was not under the impression that our CAO could create positions without going through council. I thought that any position that's created in the district of Tumbler Ridge, especially being long-term, should be something that is discussed as a council to be added to a budget item. I understand we also left our CAO an amount in the budget this year for roughly $80,000 to $100,000 for a position she wasn't sure what she was going to require, which ended up being, I think, an HR manager is what was hired in that position. But the other two positions that have been created within the district of Tumbler Ridge, I'm not sure where the funding comes from for those positions. This is the gist of the email that I've received from a resident of Tumbler Ridge, which we all heard. So I just want to have staff to have the opportunity to explain to the residents where that money comes from and how we are within budget and nothing is wrong with that.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Bertrand, Council. So you are correct, there have been changes made in staffing. There have been discussions with council, not specifically on positions being created, but with changes that were being made. We have care and control. We are looking at succession planning, which is something that we haven't had in the district before, and it has put us in a very precarious position in some cases with following our legislative requirements and what we need. With my new director of operations being an engineer, we are taking on more applications and more stuff that we were passing off to contractors that we're actually doing ourselves, and we're able to do those applications. So we're saving on our engineering contractor costs that we're sending out. And in doing that, by having succession planning with some of the positions that have been brought forward into the district, it not only helps us into the future, but it also, we're under care and control of our assets. And we just signed up for used oil recovery program, which we should have done a couple years ago. Council had asked me to start looking into solid waste, and that is something we're doing. And with that program, we have signed up to receive 30 cents a liter. And this is something that we probably, because of capacity and knowledge, skills, and abilities, we didn't do, but it should be bringing at least $80,000 to $110,000 in revenue into the district. So my staff is able to do some of this work ourselves that we hadn't in the past. And succession planning will set us up for the future when the current director leaves, that we will have somebody that can transition and has the knowledge of the district, because you all know that I do struggle with the knowledge that isn't necessarily passed on, or we don't have documentation for, that we're just unable to find. So that is what it does. It helps us with care and control, our some of our costs with contractors, and that we actually are able to, that we actually know what our infrastructure is doing, and that we do have that care and control, and it will help us with our efficiencies and our maintenance as well.
And the community center director has not been rehired as well. The public works director is taking care of both, so we are saving on that position as well.
Correct. And I'm within the budgets that we do have for, that were set by council this spring. So I'm still within all the budgets that we're given.
Announcing participant.
Councillor.
Yeah, and that's maybe is what my concern is that we are within the budget. We've created 2 new positions within the district of Tumbler Ridge and backfilled those previous positions with somebody else. So that they are new positions. Like, for instance, the mechanic that comes out of the shop goes in to be oh man, I can't remember fleet manager now. And a fellow that used to run the grader is now in as an assistant to the director of the public works.
Correct.
So we have 2 new, these are staff positions that are created, correct? Or are these union positions?
These are staff.
So we took them from the union, put them into staff, and we still have enough money in our budget from the previous year because we didn't spend that money or we didn't have somebody over at the community center. But now we have enough money because it's still in the budget. So from our budget, the district of Tumbler Ridge, from Sander, Rose, Grindle, for salaries, wages, and benefits was $952,774. That's what we have for our salaries, wages, and benefits for staff, hourly, everything.
I'd have to look at the financial
statements. Okay, yeah, I'll give you a chance to look, but that's only $1 million, right? So
but
like,
it depends on where it is in the financial statement, because it should be split between each department on salaries. So we are more than 952 by quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't have the number off the top of my head of what we are, but we have had discussions with council that we were running very lean, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't getting done, and this will help us to do our asset management and everything that has been on the plate and sitting there not being done and we don't have capacity for. That is now, we do have that capacity to do.
Councillor?
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you that we are certainly behind and you guys have a workload and capacity limits, and I absolutely understand all of that stuff. What I do not understand is we spend a lot of time going through budgets, a lot of time. It's a 3-month process, it's picked apart, in and out, and then for staff to just create 2 new staff positions. Why is it that staff could not come in and just say, well, we've decided we are going to put in a dog catcher? Why is it that staff can't come in and just say, we've decided we're gonna have another person do bylaw? But those types of things come back to us to discuss. So we don't just get the decision that, oh, like, hey, we decided we need a dog catcher, we've got room in the budget, so we've just got one for you guys. We sit in here and we discuss a dog catcher, how many times? Dozen times? Dozen meetings we've gone over that?
To increase the service.
Is it to, okay, fair enough, to increase the service. So we're saying what we're doing now is not increasing the service? To me, it sure sounds like we're increasing the service. It just doesn't feel good to me. I didn't vote on that. I didn't have an opportunity to discuss it. Although I agree with a lot with what she's saying, I don't think that this is right for this council to just glance over this. I really don't. I think that we, as a council, need to have a serious discussion about this and say, where does that money come from? I had this similar problem with the Grizzfest grounds that we just found $100,000 in the budget to move the trailers without council's approval, right? That was just, yeah, we just had it there, we're good. So obviously our budgets are inflated by the tune of $250,000 for 2 new people that we can hire and $100,000 to move the or the Grizzfest grounds. And when I see that happen, it looks bad on us as council. It doesn't look bad on staff. They're trying to get their job done. They're doing whatever they can to get more people and do what they can. But us as a council, we got to come to grips with that. I am not good with money being spent that we didn't approve. Simple as that. So that's my piece for that. And I'll be making sure we have a very more in-depth, detailed budget next year. So make sure we've got some extra meetings on it because I'm not happy with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors' business? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I've had a couple of meetings that I think I want to update council on. Excuse me, let me pull up my notes here. Firstly, we had a AGM for the Tumbler Ridge Society for Children's Needs. We have a new board. We have Karen McLean as our new president. Ms. Raylene Bilecki is our vice president. We had a couple of new members join us. Andrea, one of our new nurses, has decided to join us. We have a member of the PAC joining the committee to help round out our board to help identify what's going on in Tumbler Ridge. So we're nearing the end of our 3-year funding agreement that we came to council for. I think we're about $9,000-ish that we've asked per year. We made a motion not to ask for funding this year as we still have funds remaining and we want to continue to use that to offer services to our community. So we're going to let that run as long as we can before approaching the district to meet our funding obligations. We are taking part of the nonprofit tree decorating sale for fundraising at the winter market. So, get out there and use some. Hopefully, you can go out there and bid on our tree. Maybe some local businesses want to help a local nonprofit out. And we are beginning work for our next Welcome Baby Party for February. Last year, we had a good attendance of 25 children via Zoom. We'll be looking at continuing that again. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet in person, but, we'll see. We need to be inclusive of all people, so see how that goes. Also, I have some news from the South Peace Health Services Society. As that board dissolved, as everyone stepped down, I was contacted by Mayor Bumstead. He, Chair Sperling, and Councillor Earl have called a special meeting on December 15th to get another board in place. The financials are up to date and they will be completed by the end of this year. So hopefully that should release some funds that we can continue with the project. I have indicated I'd be willing to sit on that board again. That's what he was hoping to hear because I've been on the board for a few years. Can help provide some clarity. So, I'm happy that's continuing on so that we can still get this done for the region and Tumbler Ridge. We did have a community forest meeting 3 weeks ago. So what happened at that meeting? We had the TR Days Society come in and update us on their grant request that we provided them and what's been going on with their efforts. So they informed us they have contacted, they've hired Lindbergh Construction to manage the construction of their buildings out there, and their efforts to impart our wishes of being locally focused as possible. They have expressed that to this company, and they are doing their best to do what they can to stay local. Lindbergh Construction has gone over budget over $100,000 on the project, and they're eating that as their commitment to stay to the quote that they gave to TRDS.
Is that in writing?
Participant exiting.
I can ask. That's what was reported to us. So we are still awaiting our new management plan. Most of our cut blocks are located in our new management plan, so we have not been able to harvest much this year at all because we were told this is supposed to be a quick, easy process. We planned for our new management area because that's where we have less restrictions placed upon what we can harvest in that area. So it seems to make sense. Well, there's less old growth in that area, less medium growth in that area. Let's go into our new area because it's all good. But there is a holdup in approving this because they also want to have First Nations involvement. So because that process is new, I think it's sort of slowing the whole process down. We've asked to let's not put our eggs in that basket of our new area. Let's have an alternate plan of our old area because we still have operational costs. We need to have some money coming in because if we don't have any money coming in, it's hard to do anything. With that, because we don't have any money coming in, we've had to take $100,000 out of our investment account to give us enough time to start harvesting. We've tasked our forest manager, Duncan, to come up with some cut blocks we can do. In the meantime, we'll wait our new management plan because we've been sitting and waiting, and we just need to get out there and harvest some trees. There's been a lot of talks about the old growth in the area. I don't know if you've heard about there's new covenants placed on this old growth. That only accounts for about 5% of our old area, so it's not a huge hindrance, but looked at the maps, we're showing the maps, and they cut off these little sections of our current cut blocks that we've had planned. So we're going to get clarity on what takes precedent, right? Like, do what we have planned succeed this little area, or do we just have to ignore it and just cut the rest? Excuse me, let me take a breath. There's a lot going on.
Yep.
So our harvest plan, if we can get our new area approved, we plan to be about 8-10 kilometers north of Moose Lake. Along the forestry road, I'm told, is called Moose Lake Road. I'm not really familiar with it, but there's a few cut blocks up there that we're planning to do. If we can get our new plan approved, and apparently it's on someone's desk. It's on the person's desk that needs to have it done. We just need to finalize it. So that's with that. So we did talk about the town blowdown at the interpretive trail and the efforts to fix that. So we had High Sky come in, contracted to handle that area. So they're the company that TRCF contracted, and netted about $5,000 in revenue for the community forest. And we've asked Duncan to prepare harvest plans to come in and talk to council about what's happening, what our plans are. So it might be a good opportunity for a shareholder meeting to discuss that. We have our AGM coming up on the 15th.
December 15th.
Yes, December 15th. We do have some new interested board members, so we are going to be reviewing them and presenting to council and making sure that we have all of the requirements in place before we bring them for council's purview. We've had some grants we've had that were time sensitive we had to deal with over email. We had a good food box grant we gave out to the food bank for $12,000. And we are supporting the Christmas hamper for $15,000. The Dear Grad bingo for $500. And we have not made a decision on the WNMS trail upgrades. We had some questions for their board. We'll be discussing it at our next meeting. Decision there. So, sorry for the 10 minutes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wanted to give a update.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkcalka.
Yeah, so, and maybe Ms. Thompson might be able to answer this, but just in regards to the Turkey Trail, I heard all the lanes up that trailway as well. And I know residents came forward and sent me pictures and stuff like that, and I'm just wondering maybe if staff's had a chance to look or not, but did you guys know that, did you hear back from this guy that was down there cutting? Did they maybe smoke something or bang into something, or?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I did ask staff to provide a report on that. I asked the question, and I guess every winter we take the batteries out of the solar lights. So that's why they're not working right now. The batteries for the lights that are out there need to be taken out for winter.
Interesting. Councillor Kirkcalka.
Here comes a good one for you then, Ms. Thompson, because are we taking the solar light batteries out of the Welcome to Tumbler plants too?
I don't know what type are out, sorry, I don't know what type are out on the alternative trail. I just asked the question the other day and I'm getting more information.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, those lights were a pedestal style, kind of a pilot project as well. So I would assume the pilot isn't very effective. Councillor Kirkcalka.
So, and this is no harp on stuff, so don't take this wrong, but that comes back to making sure we do due diligence, making sure we're installing the right lights. I believe that was added to the grant when the community forest went and built the interpretive trail for the residents of Tumbler Ridge. But I mean, for it to be a multi-use, multi-purpose trail, multi-use to me and multi-purpose would be winter, summer, spring, and fall.
Yeah.
So that'd be a concern, but maybe that's something that we'll wait for staff to come back. Maybe it's just a matter of looking for a different type of battery that will work on that stand. It's something we have to look at the budget. But there's a few residents that have been back there, I guess, since it snowed to do some evening ski or early morning or whatever. And yeah, they're just saying, I was like, I'd go back within the day when it was first built, but
yeah,
I'm just curious if you can.
Yeah, and if there's need for replacing those lights, we should know about that too, definitely. Okay, my councilor's business, I just had the regional district meeting last week on Thursday where I was appointed to the solid waste committee. So looking forward to working with that committee to try to get our new solid waste strategy approved and move that forward. So yeah, should be interesting. And Councillor Kirkcalka, you've got some motions here from the Health Needs Task Force, or whatever it's called. Councillor Kirkcalka.
So if I can, just a bit of business there. It's just been recent that we've had a nurse and a doctor come to our community. And most council was able to get out and meet the young lady and her husband and her 3 children. But I mean, this is a hats off to staff to get involved with Northern Health to make things happen on the last minute. I think something will come forward from the Health Task Force committee meeting because I do believe Northern Health dropped the ball. We have a tour like that. Very great lady. Her husband's an awesome gentleman too. I think hopefully they picked Tumbler Ridge. But I mean, they were going to be left alone on the first day of Tumbler. It wasn't for staff. So thanks to Ms. Thompson to make herself available and to set the tour up and really help out and be involved. So definitely makes
Very involved.
Make it very involved. I mean, more than most CAOs would do, but especially on our day off. So thanks when staff steps up like that because that's shows you have heart for the community as well. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I got a couple of motions from the Health Task Force, and there was actually a motion that was missed, but I'm going to try to add it in between these ones, but, and that's staff, that's my fault. Maybe that's the way I explained it. But, the first motion is, and maybe we didn't realize that we weren't doing this, and maybe we didn't have it in our policy when we made them in regards to the passes, but a motion that, and request made to council to allow recreation passes to be issued to temporary Tumbler Ridge Health Center staff.
I mean, I think instead of health center staff, we should put down health
Medical professionals.
professionals, just because it's not staff and professionals. So just change that to health center, or health center professionals.
Is that clear, Ms. Thompson? Okay. Seconder for the motion? Councillor Norbury, discussion? Councillor Kirby?
Bertrand, can you, what's temporary? Temporary, someone in for a week, a month? Just wondering.
Councillor Kirkowka?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's the agencies that come in to backfill, whether it's a week, you bet. We actually had some interns that came in July, end of June and beginning of July, mid-July. Interns, there was 4 different individuals that came up. Neither one of them received a pass. These are people that are still in school, still in college, that could have went back and talked about what the district of Tumbler Ridge is doing to, not only keep them here, but attract them, retain them, but it's an incentive, right? So that's why. But yeah, to me, we missed the boat on that. And that, I mean, I won't say we did, Northern Health did. I'm gonna bash Northern Health quite a bit this meeting tonight.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
So
Councillor Kirkowka?
again, and I'm not sure if this is the place to bring it up, and if it isn't, I'll wait and do a notice motion next meeting. But when we talked about these passes and temporary, I'm not sure if council's aware of it. I think it just came to light probably about a month ago when I had a discussion with staff. But when we changed the passes back in the day, when we had the passes issued for the fire department, the ambulance, and the medical professions, it was more or less for their family for golf and all this. And then we realized that, and we brought it back and changed it. We changed it to it is the firefighter for golf, the firefighter and his family for the community center. And the same with the ambulance. That was the idea. We had these people as we went along. The first priority to me was when Councillor Howe brought it forward was for the health professionals. I do not ever remember removing the golf off the doctors and nurses and labs and x-rays. But it has been. So now when it comes in, golf is for the doctor, not the doctor and his or her family. And I think that was something that was maybe when we had the discussion, when the motion said it, I can't find it. But I think because of the way we made that motion, it was taken off. And I think it's something that needs to be relooked at. And because we're talking about those passes, that's why I brought it up in that discussion. It needs to be a notice of motion that we add it back into that, because I didn't realize it was ever taken off. And I have talked to a few councillors and nobody remembers that. So
Maybe it's an opportunity to bring that topic to a P&P to discuss so we can work out the actual details. I was just thinking the same thing by you changing the title from staff to professionals. I'm wondering if we need more clarification in that regards, because it seems to be interpreted in many different ways. And we, even council interpreted it in a different way than what was implemented. So, that's why I'm a little hesitant on just leaving it at professionals, and maybe, maybe it's an opportunity for us to look at this policy again at a P&P and really hammer out the details. What do you think of that?
I don't think it's a bad idea, but I don't think it stops us from adding it to this.
No, it doesn't. No.
Right, but
I
I think it should come back. I think maybe it's a good refresher. I mean, we've added search and rescue to it and stuff like that. So maybe it's time to have a look. I know we have the RCMP on there, and I'd love to hear it back if the RCMP are actually using it, and if they're not, why they're not. Do we have to word it different because the RCMP have a different mandate now? Do we maybe have to word these passes as a different wording within the policy so that they can use it? I mean, Councillor Howe, maybe you know that they are. I know some previous members weren't using it because of something that came down from command.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, and the whole point of the passes was to show the appreciation of the community. And if it's not, we maybe took an easy way of just saying, let Northern Health hand the passes out. But, maybe there needs to be more collaboration so that it is staff, our staff, that hands the passes out, or a member of council, whoever's available, to go over and just give them the spiel on
Personality
it.
of it, yeah.
Just like Councillor Kirkowka said, maybe you missed an opportunity to get a nurse, an agency nurse who goes, man, like that's a fantastic thing you're doing. maybe it's not that we get that agency nurse to hire on and move to Tumbler Ridge, but she goes back to Kelowna or wherever she's from and tells these other folks, like, this is what they're doing up there. Like, they're really trying up there. If you've heard anything bad about the community, let me assure you that it is not. That was the whole point. Is same as the RCMP, to reach out to them and say, we appreciate what you do in the community. And if it needs to come from a member of council, then, by all means,
Certainly.
7 of us here that can go and hand them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd certainly like to discuss this policy in more detail at an upcoming P&P. Councillor Majinski?
No, you just said that, so yeah, it is our community for one, so I think we should be the ones doing it, not Northern Health. They can advise us when there are new healthcare professionals coming to our community, and then we can issue them, whether it's mayor and council or staff, But I think it should come from our community, not Northern Health, saying, hey, here's these free passes, because then it looks like maybe they purchased them from our, us. So to make it very clear that we're the ones that are initiating this.
Absolutely. Other comments, questions? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Motion number 2, Councillor
Before I read
Kirkcaldy.
motion number 2 on page 164 of the agenda, this is kind of where I thought maybe we missed a motion or something from council to vote on. And previously, my understanding and the way these passes work for the health center anyways, was they would contact staff, I believe it would be either Ms. Thompson or one of her other staff members, and it would, in return, would call the community center would fill these out, or have them made, I guess I shouldn't say fill them out, but have them made, and then Northern Health would pick them up and more or less just, here you go. Well, Andrea is a very new nurse to this community, and she was not even given a pass. She actually had to ask about it to get a pass. So I thought there had to be a motion, but then I reread what we wrote, and it's on page 164. If approved, Melanie Miracle will provide the temporary visiting staff to Jennifer Thompson. So that's temporary staff or long-term staff, and it's other. We needed an emotion. I'm prepared to do it, but either myself as the chair of the committee or Councillor Lehman, or at the same time reaching out to all of council, because why should it just be Councillor Lehman or myself? If we have a time that was set up from Northern Health on a Tuesday, and 6 councillors can make it, I think it gives us more vision and more visual for that new employee or even the short-term employee that sees that 6 people or 5 people took time out of their day to come over, meet them for one, but also hand them the pass and explain why we're doing it. We missed those 4 interns that maybe could have gained as something coming out of school. Again, that's to me was Northern Health. Dropped the ball on that. It was Dr. Helm that brought it up, and it was quite upsetting to hear that they didn't get it back. So I'm not sure we need that in a motion because of the way it was worded in our minutes that Melanie had talked about. It was she was willing to give up the names and make a time, but instead of having where it's myself or Councilor Lehman, once we have that date, set it out or the time and see how many councils can make it. I think it just looks better.
I think there's an understanding within the committee that that's the process going forward, and I think Ms. Thompson, once we get this opportunity to discuss this policy at a next P&P, we can really set out the processes for it, I would say.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll do motion number 2, and it's that a request be made to council to support a contribution of $8,000 to Northern Health to be used for Tumbler Ridge Healthcare Professional Fleet Vehicle.
Seconder? Going once. Seconder, Councillor Howe. Discussion? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I have a question. Is this recommendation coming from the Health Needs Task Force that we support $8,000?
Councillor Kirkcaldy?
Yeah, so Councillor Lehman, this had come forward previous, so we had to get we talked to Melanie, was at the meeting, we sent her back to more information. It was kind of hard to dictate what they were looking for, and who owned the vehicle, who was doing all this, and who was doing that. Because of what they were looking for, and it came down to being our number 1 priority, we didn't vote on it at the task force. The problem is there's only 4 of us at the meeting, and 2 vote opposed. Council isn't aware of it, and I thought this is something that council needs to see. That's a very important one that council needs to make a decision, not 2 members of council sitting in the committee. So there was only 4 people there, myself, Councilor Lehman, Dr. Helm, and Melanie. And I mean, I can't speak for Councilor Lehman, he's not on the phone, he needs to speak for himself, but I do not support that. I believe I do not support the motion, so that was a problem I had at that committee meeting. I can't say how Councilor Lehman felt, that's up to him to tell you. But I have a problem with it because to me, we keep handing money to Northern Health, they keep asking. want, and I don't get me wrong, it's a number one priority, and I fully support Councillor Howe when he brought it forward, and I will support it until I'm no longer on council. But we have to eventually look and say, is it the best money, the best bang for our buck? I don't think it is.
Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. No, and yeah, I fully understand what Councillor Kirkcalka is saying on this, and it says a support contribution. Is that to purchase it, or is that for repairs, maintenance, insurance, liability, what? You know, like,
I believe it's a new vehicle.
yeah, and see, why are we paying for something, an asset for North?
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Burton. And thank you for your explanation, Councillor Palka. Is there?
Well, no, go ahead.
Okay. You know, like, for me, we have these committees to give us recommendations. Right? So if a committee supports a recommendation, I will be inclined to support their recommendation. If they do not, as Councillor Kalpa is mentioning, I would not support the recommendation. So, you know, it is important, I think, to tell us what the board is wanting, because
However, I don't know if there was enough representation at that meeting to have the board recommend or not recommend. You have two councillors sitting there, ex-chief of staff of Northern Health and Northern Health administrator. So for that group of people to try and you know, half would support, half wouldn't, it's not a true representation on that committee, I don't think. So I do agree with just bringing it straight to council for discussion, but I appreciate the opinions that you shared as well. Councillor Howe?
So we're looking for anything to do a better job with healthcare in Tumbler Ridge. You know, we've thrown out ideas so much as purchasing homes. So when the doctors or nurses come here, they have somewhere to stay and live. And we've talked about leasing them vehicles. So they have this. None of this has come through, but the stuff we've talked about. So if somebody on a committee comes forward and says, geez, would you be interested in supporting $8,000? I'm willing to listen to it, but I'm not willing to vote on it tonight on a recommendation that Councillor Procoka has brought forward that's a sentence long. Give me some information, give me some background. What type of a vehicle are you gonna get? Is this for a year? Is this $8,000 per year? Is this, we're just gonna give you $8,000, you're buying an $80,000 vehicle? Can a vehicle go to and from Tumbler Ridge? Give us some depth and detail on what the $8,000 is for, and I'm willing to listen to it. I'm not willing to vote against it tonight, because I wanna know what it's for. If that means an agency nurse that is coming in from Kelowna or from Vancouver Island can have something to drive when she's here, and that's the reason why she doesn't come to Tumbler Ridge, I'm okay with $8,000. I am not okay with not having nurses in our clinic. I'm okay with it. I need to know what the money is for.
Sure.
Other than what one sentence is.
Sure. Councillor Kirkcalka?
Yeah, so the background, I was trying to get in there, but couldn't get in there. So the background is it's a fleet vehicle, so it's owned and maintained by Northern Health. It is a vehicle that would stay within Tumbler Ridge. It's for when they do, like sometimes the nurse goes out on a course or whatever and they'll take the vehicle or whatever it may be. Maybe one of our nurses going to Chetwynd to backfill, so they're not on diversion. And there's not another vehicle there for somebody else to do home care. Again, to me, that is Northern Health's job. If it is a make or break to have a nurse here, totally different aspect. But it's not even if we are to support $8,000, no guarantee a vehicle would ever come to Tumbler, because they still have to go to their Northern Health fleet to see if they can get it. But it's like, to me, Councillor Howe and listening in the committee meeting, I wish Councillor Lima was able to talk to, but it's like $8,000 sits there, they go get this vehicle, it'll never leave Tumbler, they say, but it's their vehicle. Like I like listening to Melanie and trying to get the question there. I mean, I tell you, she wouldn't put her heart on it. Says that it would never leave to Tumbler Ridge because Chetwynd needed an extra vehicle for a week. So it's not for the agency nurse or local nurses to use to go and get groceries or show up on a call because they got called out. It's to do home care or to go to a course because they want to take the personal vehicles. Again, that's the employer's job. This isn't a make or break whether we get a nurse in Tumbler Ridge. Because if they fly into Tumbler into Fort St. John or wherever they may fly into, Northern Health has to rent them a vehicle to get to Tumbler, they're picked up by Northern Health.
Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. I just don't like the idea of this, just because if we do have an agency nurse come here and they bring a significant other with them, and that individual goes out and does grocery runs with it, and it could be very well abused. Or they could try and drive out to Canusa Falls in the middle of winter, get stuck and rip the bumper off. And are we liable for all of the repairs and damage? And like there could be a lot of things that we could be on the hook for. Just putting up $8,000. Like, is this a lease vehicle? Is it brand new? Is it, how old is it? Like, what if we're the ones saying, yeah, we're providing a vehicle, then it breaks down going to Dawson Creek when they go on a grocery run, or they have to call a AAA or whatever, right? So, I don't know. It seems a bit like a lot of things that we could be on the hook for, not just Northern Health.
Yeah,
Can I just jump in?
I disagree, but Councillor Kirkowka.
So just on it, it's a fleet vehicle, it's Northern Health's fleet vehicle. It says right in on page 166, the maintenance for the vehicle will be covered by Northern Health. It's their vehicle. So it's like, what they need is, so when they end up with a fleet vehicle, so if they have a fleet vehicle in Tumbler Ridge, out of their budget came $8,000 to their fleet, to Northern Health fleet, to get that vehicle here. So they're paying $8,000 for the vehicle they have today. Northern Health, their fleet continues to take care of that vehicle. They're looking for $8,000 from council to get a second vehicle. Again, it is their fleet vehicle, but they have to pay $8,000 to have that vehicle. That's what it costs. So if Dawson Creek has 6 Northern Health vehicles, it's 6 times $8,000 is what it costs Northern Health's budget for those 6 vehicles in Dawson. That's what they're looking for. So they're looking for us to cover $8,000 instead of coming from their budget from all of Northern Health to give Tumbler Ridge another.
Okay, Councillor.
So do they do this in other communities? Do they ask Dawson Creek for $56,000? Probably not. So why do we have to come up with that money? Should be in their budget. They allotted for it in the first place. They should be responsible for it, not us, not the taxpayers of Tumbler Ridge. We already pay taxes for them for their service. Why do we have to pay more for it? It's not acceptable.
Agreed. Councillor Howe.
Well, the level of service here is piss poor, right? And to me, it is. There's absolutely no two ways about it. We have one nurse in town for like 4 months. Cheppen's on diversion every second weekend here. Like Tumbler's no better right now. We're a little bit better, but we've been very bad in the past. And to me, it may be again us. I look at it as an $8,000 donation. Is the way I look at it. It's the same as the children's van that runs around and picks the kids up or whatever. It's a donation you give to them, and that's their vehicle. You deal with it from that point forward. But it does show a willingness for our council to work with Northern Health to try to get things going. I agree with you. I mean, I pay provincial taxes, and that's what's supposed to deal with this stuff. But it's another one of those opportunities for us to go and say to Northern Health, we've done everything. We've given you $8,000 for a vehicle, and we still can't get a nurse here. Or we still can't get an x-ray technician here, or we still can't, we are looking for ways outside the box. They're gonna be a hell of a lot more expensive than $8,000 to try to get somebody to come here. And I agree, it sucks that we are starting to tread into that land where this is a federal tax a provincial tax that should be dealing with this. I agree, I don't like to do that, but I do like the fact that we get the opportunity to go sit in front of Northern Health and say, man, we give you $8,000 for a vehicle. We do passes, we do lodging for them already, right? We provide apartments in Tumbler Ridge for when they come in. The district of Tumbler Ridge taxpayers pay for those apartments when those people come in. Northern Health isn't paying for those, so we're already doing it. So to me, this is just another one of those things to show Northern Health, we're willing to work with you. You came to us and gave us an ask. I'd be willing to do it. It's $8,000. It's a drop in the bucket for this community just to have that over them.
Yeah. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from, Councillor Howe, but it's never gonna stop. Like, to me, I'd rather look at the housing, I'd rather look at the bonus concepts, but you can't keep having, like, every time, so what, Northern Health eventually gonna start coming here and looking for money so they can go buy IV kits. Because Tumbler Ridge will give them all the money in the world. Right, so I think that's where you gotta draw the line. To me, when it comes to a vehicle, this is their mandate. We all pay taxes in the district of Tumbler Ridge, but that's not the point. The provincial government just gave them $13 million to help do nursing and all that. I mean, time to spend it in Tumbler Ridge. Right? We've asked at that committee meeting to, instead of, they were looking at taking one of the nurses' positions and doing a 0.7 and a 0.4. We said, can you not go back to your CEO and say, listen, Tumbler Ridge wants another full-time position. Don't split one, unless the nurses say that. If not, give us another full one. We'll fill it. I mean, once we get some of these recommendations that we put forward, and no disrespect to staff, we're just waiting for that information to come back so that we can look at the $12,000 a year for bonuses and maybe new housing for teachers and physicians or nurses, professional healthcare. I mean, I'm sorry, I know it's only $8,000. I totally get it. The problem I have is that they're not going to stop asking. like, I'm sorry, I'm surprised, I'm gonna say it, I'm surprised Northern Health having a dinner paid for by Northern Health when I get an email how she didn't try and scrape the walls to get enough money to do a dinner. But I mean, no hurt to ask the district to take people out for a nice supper because we're trying to wine and dine the nurses or the doctors, or a nice lunch.
That's what we should be doing.
Right, I agree, but like eventually we need to draw the line at something, and to me, I mean, it'll go to a vote, I won't support it.
Councillor Majinski, then I'm gonna call the question.
Okay, I'll make it quick then. Maybe we should do a year-end review, how much expenditures we've done or have incurred with Northern Health. So we can put in there how much it would cost of tied up time we had the apartments being vacated, incentives that we've put out for agency nurses coming into our community, golf passes, rec passes, and say this is how much it's costed the Tumbler Ridge, the district of Tumbler Ridge. This is how much the value we've been putting into having people come to our town compared to any other community. We should do a year end of that and say, here you go, Northern Health. This is what we've done. What has any other community done comparatively to what we've done here? Make a better effort.
Yeah, I think we're not quite than the rest of the province. I think a lot of the communities are looking at innovative ways to try and retain and attract medical professionals. So I think there are a lot of efforts out there, but I'm not in support of this one myself. I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Defeated, thank you. Question and answer period.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Just one question to Councillor Kukalka for your next Health Task Force Committee meeting. Could you add a topic on there, and that is phone calls going into the clinic? I've had residents saying that people are having a really hard time getting through and waiting in days, and there's an answering machine, and get back to us, and it's just an issue. So maybe
to contact the actual clinic?
Yeah, the actual clinic, to get through to the nurse, to reception at all.
Okay.
So maybe we could.
Councillor?
So just on that, honestly, I think to any councillor, anybody watching, anybody in the gallery,
They're having problems, call myself, email me. Like the same day it's happening, because I'll get a hold of Northern Health immediately, Melanie. I'll confirm I'm allowed to share her email, and I'll share it because that's come up in the meeting, probably if it's not every month, it's every second month, in regards to the phone, and we've been told it's been fixed. So if it's not, if it happens on tomorrow morning, I'd rather be able to get a hold of her right away and say, here, you call it. Right, you call it. So
instead of
I think we can only burn it up in those meetings. So I have brought it up, I've marked it down again, and I know staff will have it on the agenda because they're in the room. So, but if anybody sees that or having that problem, I know I seen it on Facebook one day, and I called Melanie right away and said the same thing. They're having problems again. So.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, question and answer period. Mr. Peaver, please, in regards to tonight's agenda, if you don't mind coming up to the table there, please. It is in regards to tonight's agenda, correct?
Probably on about numerous topics you guys have been on. I'm gonna help Daryl out a little bit here, I think. Pretty sure you guys are all familiar with TR Cares here in town. The van that Northern Health happens to supply to this community so that we could take people from hospitals, which I was a volunteer driver. How do you get fired from a volunteer position? Wow. Go figure. And then yet, 2 weeks in a row, get called by said employer, could you please take some people to the hospitals? But you can't take the TR Care van. So you can take what the TR Care or Northern Health paperwork that they've supplied you guys with, it's not worth the paper it's written on because they themselves are working ways around it to get shit done. Norbury.
Do you have a question, Mr. Peaver?
I do. Mr. Norbury read off exactly what their agenda was, that they said everybody had to be double vaxxed. No exceptions. There's people out there that went and got Johnson & Johnson. One-shot deal. Why are they left out of it? They are vaccinated. They're not recognized. Again, take the Northern Health paperwork for what it's worth. Nothing.
Okay, thank you.
And
Councillor Cook.
So I actually have one question just on this TR Cares. I'm sorry. So Northern Health is calling you to do patient transfers, or is the board, so the non-for-profit society, calling you to do the transfers? So I know there's a society
I have to-
that
I have to
TR
plead the
Care just
fifth
ran
on-
out of.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that, Daryl,
Okay.
just.
Hey, then
my
that's
point
enough.
was About Northern Health,
Okay, but if it's not Northern Health, please don't say it's Northern Health.
but come July, when that contract is over, it might not be renewed, there's your vehicle, you look, it's already in Tumbler Ridge.
Oh, okay, let's see what you're saying. And your question?
My question is, this thing about this arena stuff, people coming in and out and all this and the other thing. I come from a little community in northern Ontario, 5,000 people. It's like Tumbler Ridge at the end of the highway. It's been to court already been confirmed that nobody is allowed to ask anybody any medical questions unless you're a doctor or a scientist. So their council in my hometown in northern Ontario simply did this. Everybody that wants to use any public facilities has to show proof that their taxes are paid. Now you're allowed to use a facility, because they're not allowed to ask you if you've been vaccinated or not. It's against the law. It's a pretty simple fix.
So your question is?
In our arena, you go public skating. It's on their calendar. How come you can have multiple people that are vaxxed and unvaxxed go public skating, but they can't go play hockey together? In the same arena, that's on the same schedule. That's my question. Where did that segregation happen to come from? Makes no sense to me. I need clarification on that. I can go public skating twice a week, but I can't go play hockey. I'm in the dressing room with the same 5 people that I'm always in the dressing room with, but I can go into the arena with 50 people that I'm never with.
Ms.
That's just
Thompson,
fine.
can you clarify what the order states as far as the organized sport compared to our skating program, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. It will take us a few minutes to go through the order, and it might take us a little bit of time to clarify what everything is, but
Is that what, that's your question? Yeah. Certainly, yep. We'll go to the next question if you don't mind. Ms. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor, Council staff. I want clarification regarding minor hockey. So all the parents can still take children into dressing rooms and undress them as long as they're not spectating? Or, because right now they're being stopped at the door and not allowing them entry right into the corridor.
Mhm. I believe the participants need to be stopped at the front door. I think all participants need to be double vaccinated as far as I understood it, but Ms. Thompson can clarify that as well, hopefully.
thank you. We won't be able to clarify it tonight. We just definitely cannot at this time. We need to go through the order and the details that it has. We probably can't clarify the other questions.
And
right now.
it really is minor hockey. Like minor hockey is sort of separated in this sense from the district. Councillor Kirkcaldy?
That's all I was gonna say is, again, we're not the governing body for the minor hockey, so no disrespect. But I believe what happens there is the policies that staff have is being put on, but to put it back onto that committee, or the organization and they're running. So, I mean, maybe that's something they've got the information from and not the district, so that's all I was gonna say. It might be a hockey thing as they're the governing body for the association.
Right. Councillor Norbury?
Mayor Bertrand, is there opportunity for us to reach out to the environmental health officer? Is that the term?
I believe it was,
spoke
yeah.
with?
Yep.
Is there an opportunity for us to pose these questions to them? Because they seem to be the governing body when it comes to answering these versus our interpretation. As I think it is a good idea to go to the governing body with these questions versus our own interpretation.
I agree, and we certainly aren't the governing body. Ms. Thompson, is that person through Northern Health available to take questions by email or anything like that?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So Chief Curry does have a contact that he would be able to get a hold of to get clarifications through the environmental health officer.
Perfect, and would we be able to share it with Ms. Scott and Mr. Peaver for them to be able to ask their questions as well?
Correct. They can email me with their email addresses, send it to the CAO at PTO, and then I have it.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. And Denise, please.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share again. My question is for the chief, the mayor, and council here. Why are you putting the BC health orders, which are not justifiable or scientific, as these experimental mRNA vaccines are proving harmful and deadly, as over 243 Canadians have actually died from the vaccinations, and thousands are suffering severe adverse reactions, and myocarditis, blood clots, neurological, fertility disorders in the short term that we know about. And when the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms supersede any so-called state of emergency, which there is no state of emergency in Northern Health, plus according to the BC COVID-19 situation report, why are you enforcing vax passports and the arena while the median age of deaths from COVID in our region is 82 years old? And the incidence in Northern Health, according to this BC situation report, has decreased this last week from 213 to 112 incidences. Now, I'm not sure what that means, so it'd be good to get clarification about that. So it's down to 112 people having incidences per 100,000.
The severity of this makes no difference whatsoever. The percentages of people dying from this makes no difference whatsoever. This is about public health,
Right,
okay?
yeah.
We are following the public health orders because that's what we are mandated to do. That's the answer to your question. Thank you very much. 10-minute recess, please.